Great. So everybody can see the slides now, I hope.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's lovely we're getting started. And what we want to think about is Maharishi Ayurveda, and we're thinking of it in terms of memory loss and dementia, and in particular Alzheimer's disease. And that's because there's been maybe a fantastic breakthrough in relation to Alzheimer's, which sheds a great light and introduces again in the modern medicine perspective the ancient paradigm of Ayurveda. So it's the first real shift towards an Ayurvedic perspective that is happening within the medical field, which makes it very interesting and exciting for us, as well as the reality of us taking advantage of the advices to take care of our own memory and to help those we love. So I want to start by talking about Maharishi Ayurveda, and then I want to talk about the brain and its development, and then what tends to happen from the age of 25, and how a progression of what is naturally or what is commonly happening moves on into a state of brain failure and disease. And so I just start by saying that Ayurveda is from the two words Veda and Ayus. Veda means knowledge, Ayus is lifespan. So Ayurveda means the knowledge of life or the knowledge of lifespan. And Maharishi is there because Ayurveda was not appreciated even in its own land, except by the Ayurvedans themselves and their patients. But it was actually in competition with so many other systems and treating disease. And Maharishi came along, and he came out of India in the late 50s, established meditation as a good thing around the world because of the research he'd encouraged on TM, which showed it was really valuable. And with an organization that he developed in 120 countries, 20 years later, he went back, and with the cooperation of some of the greatest Ayurvedans within India, and developing a council of Ayurvedans to advise, then he went about progressively globalizing Ayurveda, but with the perspective of the ancient texts and from a more pure stream of the old tradition, which holds that we are fundamentally consciousness rather than physical. And Ayurveda explains how from that field we create our own physiologies, and how therefore the knowledge is actually innate within us. And we need to reconnect and recognize what our nature is, how we should behave, how we should live, to live a balanced life, a life of health and wholesomeness. And so he also challenged the scientists, and actually even the most profound theoretical science was seen to be actually quite, in fact, similar to, if not confirming, the ancient principles at the base of Ayurveda, and the field of consciousness being something so sublime to the whole field of life in the universe, life in the physiology. And so also added to that was the reality of the scientific research showing the benefits of herbal products and Ayurveda and so forth. So when we're talking about Ayurveda and we're talking about modern medicine, Ayurveda will place great emphasis on the heart as the central organ, the most fundamental, because it's seen that life or consciousness emanates from the heart. And actually still the heart remains the reservoir, the deepest level of mind, which is the finest feeling. But then comes the instrument of perception and memory and thinking and in intellectual activity, and that's the brain. Whereas medicine sees only the brain, and we're brain dead, we're dead. But Ayurveda sees that flow, and the brain is incredibly significant in terms of our projection of our consciousness, our cognition, our knowledge. So the brain, about 2% of your body weight, yet uses 25% of the body's energy. And the cerebrum, just to get an insight into the complexity, 85% of The brain is made up of the cerebrum, and it contains 86 billion nerve cells, and each of them will have thousands of connections to other brain cells. An amazing, incomprehensible network. The most sophisticated computer that exists is your brain. And this is a brain cell, a neuron. And notice it has little dendrites, and it has a big long axis. And notice particularly that at the end of the dendrites and at the end of the axons, there's all these connections called synapses. Now, this is where one neuron connects with another neuron. This is where one nerve cell communicates with the next nerve cell. And this is actually the seat of our understanding of memory, mind. It all happens in that gap between two nerve cells at the synapse, where the chemicals cross and stimulate the next nerve. Now, I also, as well as emphasizing the synapse to you, and which I'll come back to, I also wanted to mention that there are little receptors, little landing sites on the nerve cell around the synapses in all nerve cells. And these little amyloid precursor proteins, they're called, are receptors, and things click in or attach to these receptors and greatly influence, particularly the synapses, but the nerve cell as a whole. So we'll come back to the synapse, and we'll come back to the protein precursor, the amyloid protein precursor receptors, when we're thinking and explaining about the Alzheimer's. Now, our brain develops from childhood. So even at the age of in 23 weeks in the womb, all the brain structures are present. But what now happens is a huge, rich network of connections starts to emerge: motorways, highways, byways, pathways that are, as it were, nerves to all parts of the brain connecting up. Now, this from the age of 1 to 4 is explosive. There's 1 million synapses created every minute for that child. From 4 to 10, the child has more connections to the brain than they'll ever have again. And that makes them incredibly imaginative and has the capability to learn so much. And it's why they can learn a language far quicker than you or I. But from the age of 10 to 25, there's a pruning, 2% per year in the teens. The synapses are lost. So this pruning is actually, if you don't use it, you lose it. So what's being sculpted is a unique brain now, which reflects this individual's life experience, their diet, their routines, their thoughts, their feelings, a particular structure of brain that reflects all of that. And when they come to 25, fully formed brain. Brilliant. Now, only thing is, it's a shame. You see, Ayurveda would have had so much to offer to them. There's a Vajikaran is one of the 8 systems in Ayurveda, one of the 8 sort of traditional bodies of knowledge within Ayurveda, and it's to do with conceiving a perfect child. It's that the parents prepare themselves for a year before conceiving. Ayurveda has done so many advices for during pregnancy, so many advices and wonderful herbs, especially those first 4 years, to nourish the brain when it's exploding into connections. And then right through the teens, everything that Ayurveda advises would mean a child would reach 25 with incredible capacity for love, joy, fulfillment, wisdom, integrity. So in future generations, they'll have the benefit of it. But we're thinking now going forward from 25, what happens next? What happens next is cognitive aging. And what that indicates is that mental functions become less nimble from the mid-20s. From the mid-20s, the memory starts to decline. The processing speed of your brain starts to decline. The intensity of your attention starts to decline. You get more and more distractible. Your language skills start to decline. The executive functions of planning and behavior and this starts to decline, accelerating as life goes by. This is not great news, but there is a compensation in that elders actually tend to attend to positive things more and not so impressed, or they don't hold on to the negative. So they're generally more happy. And also there's this, what's called crystallized intelligence. It's our wisdom. It's the experience that we've gained allows us to compensate for the little lacks that are now occurring. If, however, and for an increasing proportion of people, there is a move on from what is considered normal in our culture towards disease. Now, this normal of cognitive aging, again, what we learn out of this seminar actually is that the strategies to treat dementia, which are actually emerging, are the strategies that we could be using to protect our brain and to enhance our cognitive functions and to lessen this impact of time passing and age. But for those unfortunates who continue on in that sort of direction, there is what's called mild cognitive impairment. Now, this is where somebody starts to get a little bit more forgetful. I mean, forgetting important events or appointments or social engagements, or they start to lose their train of thought, not just in the conversation, but even reading a book or watching a film. They lose it, they lose the thread of it. Or they become overwhelmed by decisions, or even they start to get lost in familiar places. They become more impulsive, and others start to notice their deterioration. Now, this is a more serious situation because there was no brain damage done in it that could be seen anyway in cognitive aging, but now there definitely are brain changes. There's a little a part of our brain, we'll see a little diagram of it shortly, the hippocampus, and that actually gets disturbed and loses cells when we come to mild cognitive impairment, and even more so with Alzheimer's. And also you can see in the diagram here, where the fluid-filled space is in black at the center of the brain, in a normal brain. Right? In mild cognitive impairment, however, it's expanding. And you see the terrible situation of brain cell loss in Alzheimer's disease on the right. So with mild cognitive impairment, there may be it may just stop there, but for maybe 15% will go on to dementia, which is a term, an umbrella term, and it stands for a progressive neurological disease that affects multiple brain functions, including memory. So in dementia, it's common. It's about 50 million worldwide. There's about 47,000 people in 2011 in Ireland with Alzheimer's. But the problem is it's hugely increasing. By 2050, there'll be 131.5 million people with dementia in the world. There will be 137,000 people in Ireland with dementia. This is a disease that's increasing in incidence, and a disease for which has been absolutely no treatment. It's taken over as the bogeyman from cancer, because at least some cancers are now getting treated. Anyway, we can say there's 13 types of dementia. Alzheimer's disease is making up at least 75% at the moment, and the other great proportion is from vascular disease, from the same situation that causes heart attack and strokes, the bunging up, the blocking up of blood vessels, which prevents nutrients getting through the brain cells, which then die. That's a cause of dementia. Also, you have in the news, the rugby player, the boxer, who 20 years after their career, or 10 years after their career, they start developing dementia. So due to the brain injuries in sport. And then there are other rare ones, like with Parkinson's or with mad cow's disease or with AIDS, there can be a proportion that get dementia. Now, if you look at the diagram, and you see in the middle an egg-shaped structure, which is an egg-shaped structure, which is sort of yellowish, greenish, then that is the thalamus in the center. And surrounding it, purple, a circle. That purple is the. It's like a filing cabinet, and everything that you're needing to remember during the day, you're putting in there. Where did I park the car? Where have I left my keys? And so it's all going in there. And that structure is what deteriorates with Alzheimer's and dementia. So this is a cognitive, Montreal Cognitive Assessment. It's just if anybody's really, really concerned, they could go online, look that up. They could do a test. They might have to pay for it. And it's very reassuring because it's very simple. And I'm sure everybody listening today would come out 100% on that one. Okay, so let's now talk about the Alzheimer's particularly, because it's the most common, the one that's increasing in incidence, and it's the one for which there may be a solution emerging. So the man on the photograph is Aloysius Alzheimer's, who in 1907 had a patient who entered into this psychiatric hospital you see down on the left, and he was fascinated by her. And over 6 years, he watched and studied and saw her decline. And when she died, he had a look at her brain, and he discovered there was this thing called amyloid in her brain. And that was sort of the start of a big mistake on behalf of the medical industry, because medicine had great success with antibiotics treating bugs, and got into this idea that you had one cause for diseases, and therefore you could have one magic bullet to cure. And so they spent billions and billions researching amyloid and how to get rid of it out of the brain, considering amyloid to be the cause. And amyloid is not the cause, it's a byproduct. And that's why it's so interesting now to have an understanding of the cause of amyloid and what are the factors that we can do to reverse the condition. So when the cognitive condition has declined to Alzheimer's, we get initially just a little bit worse than the mild cognitive impairment, but then it starts to become difficulty making any decision, difficulty with speech language, difficulty moving around, from self-care tasks, getting aggressive, demanding, even hallucinations and delusions, and of course the low mood. So it really progresses into an increasingly incapacitating condition, which is distressing for those Alzheimer's patients who have insight, very, very, very distressing for the relatives. Now, this is Dr. Dale Bredesen, and he was a neurophysiologist, a scientist in the laboratory, and a neurologist, and he brought together all the research and did some fantastic research himself into Alzheimer's, and published for the first time in 2016 10 patients who recovered from Alzheimer's. And they actually could remember how they were, and they could remember that they couldn't remember anything, and now they can remember that they were in that state and that they're back to normal, so long as they stay on the protocol. If they don't do the things recommended, they start to lose their marbles again. In 2018, he published 100 patients who had now recovered from Alzheimer's. So how did he figure it out, or what is the basis of his protocol? We're back to the synapse. And as he explains it, it's like osteoporosis. So you have cells in your bones which make new bone, and you have cells in your bone which break down bone. You need both, because sometimes bone is damaged, has to be broken down and replaced by the good bone. So long as there's a good balance between the cells that break down bone and the cells that build up bone, then you have really good, strong, healthy bones. Lose that balance and more cells breaking down than building up, and you start moving to osteoporosis. Similar thing in the brain. You have factors in the brain which create brain synapses. And this is the basis of neuroplasticity, how the brain can learn. And this is something Dr. Rajvinder will be mentioning. And so the processes in the brain for creating new synapses. There are also processes that eliminate the synapses. So you have this balance going on in good health, and that's perfect. But when the breakdown exceeds the buildup, now we're in a situation of reducing brain cells. And now the brain is an incredibly amazing instrument. It tries to protect itself. It tries, as it were, to put the least important things first. So the damage is happening in the least important areas of the brain, because you can get by with forgetting where you parked your car. You'll eventually find it, but you can't get by without a heartbeat or a breath. So vital functions are preserved and contained to the very end. And in the meantime, more and more the brain is getting lost. More and more the functions which were initially minor functions are becoming more and more major functions, and the Alzheimer's is progressing. So that's the story behind it, and it all comes down to this precursor protein amyloid. Now remember we talked about the synapses, and in the synapses there are receptors. These are the receptors. And this receptor can be broken down in two ways, depending on the environment of the cell. If the environment of the cell provides the cell with all the nutrients it needs and all the factors which contribute to the health and growth of the cells and the synapses, and everything is good in the milieu of the nerve cell, then that receptor breaks down into and it creates new synapses. Great. But another possibility exists where there are not the appropriate or adequate nutrients for the cell to draw on, or there are toxic chemicals in the surroundings of the nerve cell, and or there are a lack of certain hormones the brain needs. Then this receptor breaks into four pieces, not two. And when it breaks down into four pieces, those pieces destroy the synapses and create the amyloid. But the amyloid is the brain's trying to protect itself. The amyloid actually mops up heavy metal toxins, mops up toxins and inflammatory molecules. So the brain is trying to use amyloid to protect itself, but it's not succeeding. The brain is getting more and more damaged with the miserable environment which surrounds the cell. And what causes this miserable environment? That's what's fascinating. You see, every system in your body, from your digestive system to your locomotor system, to your immune system, to your respiratory system, to your cardiovascular system, really they all serve the brain. They want to provide to the brain all that it needs so that it can give us this fantastic cognition and our consciousness be totally full in its manifest expression and appreciation of life. But when there's failures, the environment of the brain gets toxic. And what causes these failures? It's your lifestyle, it's your diet, it's your stress levels, it's the amount of exercise you take, it's sleep, it's all the everyday things. When these are not adequate or appropriate, the brain is getting such a sensitive organ, getting more and more damaged. So Bredesen talks about it like a roof with 36 holes. In fact, he could say now 100 holes, because he's now measures each patient for 100 different things, whether long history, examination, a huge battery of tests. And so he finds out for each individual what specifically is their problem. Is it that their toxins are disturbing the brain? Is it that, they're not getting the appropriate nutrients? Is it what's going on in this individual's brain? And then knowing, for you or me, 3 or 4 things might not be perfect, but for someone with Alzheimer's, it could be 15, 20. And now those 15, 20 things have to be reversed. And only when they're reversed does the damage stop. And that involves lifestyle, diet routine, as well as supplements. So we'll come to that. And so in a way, he's using a program which is very Ayurvedic. It's not a pill for a nail medical approach. It's using the most ancient tradition of health promotion. Now, this is Augusta Dieter, and I suppose we should credit her with the knowledge and understanding and the beginning of interest in the condition called Alzheimer's, because she was the patient that Dr. Aloysius Alzheimer studied and made his discoveries about Alzheimer's with. So what are the problems specifically that Dr. Bredesen outlines? Basically 4. He says 3, but he's really describing 4. He says there's an atropic type of a problem. For some people with Alzheimer's, they lack the supports, they lack the molecules the nerves need. Another type is inflammation. So the body, there's a lot of inflammation going on. There are chemicals due to this inflammation which destroy the brain cells. There's glycotoxic. This is the insulin resistance, right? And there are toxins, those 4 types. So now let's look at them. Now, Dr. Naheed will take you into this from an Ayurveda point of view, but it's interesting that Dr. Bredesen also uses the Ayurvedic terminology for these. And the atrophic type is Vata. The patients tend to be older. There's atrophy or loss of that hippocampal short-term memory area. There's a reduction in all the hormones. The brain-derived neurotrophic factor is another one that the brain needs. Thyroid hormones, vitamins. So there's a reduction in the supports for the brain cell. And so the treatment actually is to try and optimize and give the brain cells what they need. Adequate protein, minerals, vitamins. For these people, fasting is not a great idea, even according to medicine. But Dr. Naheed will give you more information on balancing your Vata, your Pitta, and your Kapha. For Pitta types, it's inflammation. Your body is at war. Now, inflammation is a natural process. You sprain your ankle, and next thing it's all hot and red, and this is an inflammatory process, which is part of the healing. But unfortunately, we can end up with war going on in our bodies and a lot of collateral damage. The war might be with viruses, bacteria, fungi, parasites, amoeba, and the immune system is at war and it's producing byproducts which are damaging to cells. Or again, as Dr. Rajvinder will inform us about a leaky gut where things are getting through which shouldn't, and that disturbs the immune system. And then you have all these autoimmune disease where the immune system is attacking our own tissues and creating inflammation, and the brain is suffering. So this is the inflammatory type. Again, it presents with forgetfulness and some loss of the hippocampus, and it's triggered by trans fats and sugar, a great poison, sugar, and other things which Rajvinder will take us into. And then there's the glycotoxic kapha type. And this is actually self-inflicted because this is sugar. This is lack of exercise. And this is the one that will recover quickest if you have good compliance and people are prepared to make the changes. The worst antioxidant in the body, the worst toxin to our cells is this advanced glycolylated end products, which are sugar, the final products of sugar in the body. So the toxic type, in about 1/7 of patients, it's the toxins that are causing the damage. And they present younger at age 47 to 55, and they're very sensitive to stress and to sleep loss. The difficulty is there's so many possible toxins. It's very difficult actually to get a handle on this one and to find out exactly what the toxin is so you can remove it. It could be the amalgam from your teeth. It could be byproducts from herpes or Lyme's disease in your body. It could be heavy metals. It could be glycophosphate from genetic engineered food, or it could be just additives and flavorings in your convenience processed foods. So that's the difficulty with that one. And then also he calls the cardiovascular situation, the blood vessels getting bunged up, as the pale variety. And that, we know from heart disease that lifestyle and dietary things are so significant and make such a difference to eliminate the bad fats, to reduce blood pressure, to have a proper diet, to get your lifestyle, have your exercise, all of that. And TM, Transcendental Meditation, has proven of great benefit there. 40% less heart attacks, strokes, and death for those who are with cardiovascular disease versus those who are not doing the TM. That's a very interesting statistic. And then there's the dazed variety. And these are people who had the head injuries. And for these, the most important thing is no more injury to the head. And then also provide them with lots of nutrients and a lot of brain training. And that's the best way of helping them rewire. Perhaps he's wondering about stem cells for the future. So really, after finding out for each individual what are the particular problems of whether inflammation, whether sugar's the problem, whether toxins, then the putting in place everything that's needed to stop the murder of brain cells, to help to reverse the process, and then rebuild. Give the brain everything it needs, all the nutrients that allows it to rebuild new synapses. So now I just wanted to leave you with a reference. The Healthy Brain Solution is a book by Dr. Nancy Lonsdorf, where she very beautifully integrates the Maharishi Ayurveda with the Bredesen concepts in a program which can be to some extent self-directed to help with these conditions. She also has written about The Woman's Best Medicine and Ageless Woman for the Time of Menopause. Very nice books. On the Healthy Brain Solution, her website, there's a comprehensive list of the lab tests she orders. The other book, if you're not a lady, you happen to be a man, and you're not interested in The Woman's Best Medicine, you could read Ayurvedic Healing by Sharma Clark, and you could read The Healthy Brain Solution by Dr. Nancy Lonsdale. And now I'll hand you back over to Noel and stop my share. And hopefully Noel will take over and introduce Dr. Naheed next.
Okay, Don, very good. So that's a great overview, really, of the whole situation as regards the whole different range of conditions that people can have with their brain. And I really like the slides about the synaptic gap and all that's going on in there. And I think a lot of people on the call today, they mightn't necessarily have any particular, or, you know, they may be a little bit forgetful. They may be trying to, you know, look at prevention from preventing problems as they get older. And don't worry, Dr. Brennan's talk was very in depth there, but we will be given very, very practical things that you can do, even though Don did mention some of them, but we will be going into very practical things that you can do for yourself going forward to help, you know, strengthen the brain and prevent dementia from occurring later on. So just to bring you up to date on what happened, there's 100 people on the call, and Zoom for some reason have blocked the call at 100 people. Now, for those of you who know us, we're doing a course at the moment. We have about 400 people logging on every Tuesday and Thursday. We had about 400 people on last Thursday. My account hasn't changed or anything. My account is still showing that I have a much greater capacity than that, but Zoom are doing an upgrade today, and that's obviously after affecting what's going on. So I've been back to everybody. Well, I've sent them all emails. Hopefully they've got them, and we will rerun this. And in actual fact, there's a huge amount of information in this. So we're going to give you the opportunity to sit in on the rerun of this as well, provided I can get back over to more than 100 people, okay? And the people that didn't get in just told me to say that they're very jealous of the fact that you're here, and some of them were in originally, and then they got blocked out the second time. And I just said, that's the luck of the draw, you know, what can you do about it? But thankfully, everybody, I was really expecting a barrage of emails saying, what the hell is going on, Noel? But actually, all the emails were very, very nice. They've been very understanding, and nobody has given out to me, which is great. If I can get through a day without people giving out to me, it's fantastic, you know. But nobody has given out to me at all, and everybody seems happy, and they accept that it's just a technical issue with Zoom. So that's so far, so fingers crossed. So actually, what I want to do now is I want to find out where Dr. Naheed is, because she's probably on mute. So I'll have to look for Dr. Naheed. And she is on mute. So Dr. Naheed, if you just say...
I know it, yeah.
Okay. So Dr. Naheed, just for those of you who haven't met her, I presume most people on this call have engaged with us in one way or another. And Dr. Naheed is an Ayurvedic doctor that works for the Ayurveda Centre, and she lives down in Cork, which is in the southwest of Ireland. And she's an award-winning Ayurvedic doctor, a gold medal winner in Ayurvedic pharmacology. And she is going to do her presentation now. So I'll hand over to Dr. Naheed. So I presume you'll be able to share your screen, Dr. Naheed, and you just go ahead with your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Noel, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this Alzheimer's webinar. So today I'm going to give an insight of Alzheimer's as per Ayurveda, and it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for me to give some insight about Alzheimer's on Ayurveda. So,
if you can just get your, oh yeah, that's perfect, Dr. Naheed. Yeah, just.
Yeah. So as Ayurveda being science of life, it identifies that there are three basic energies, or we can say the functional principle in our body, known as Vata, Pitta and Kapha. And this Vata, Pitta and Kapha are responsible for all the functions, metabolism, adherence and everything in our body. So we all know that we have everyone has a unique fingerprint. Similarly, Ayurveda says that every individual have the unique combination of physical, mental, and emotional characteristics which comprise their own constitution or body type. So as we all have a unique characteristics, so each individual shows up unique mental characteristics as well. So just have a look how a vata and pitta and a kapha have their mind and their brain. So in vata we see that they are blessed with quick minds, they are flexible, they are like very creative, they grasp any concept really quickly, but it's really hard for them to remember things for long. They are alert, they are restless, and they're very active, and they can think very fast, like within a fraction of second they can think of multiple ideas. They are fickle minded and they are very indecisive, so it's really tough for them to make any decision. While as pitta, they have like very penetrating ideas, they are very intelligent people, and they want everything to be perfect around them. They are always alert, and they have a good power of comprehension, but they are very impatient and they are highly resistible. While as kapha, they are like calm, tolerant, they are loving in nature, they are stable and grounded, they have profound memory, but they are like very slow decision maker. So we see that every individual is different. So a disease, whether it's Alzheimer, it's any other disease, every body type develops a unique feature. So now we'll see that if a vata person develop Alzheimer's, what symptoms they can show up. So they can show up like memory loss, they will be problem in having problem in moving around, they'll have problem in speech and language, they might have some like disorientation kind of feeling. And as you know that vata have difficulty in planning, so it becomes more difficult for them to plan anything. While as in pitta we see a lot of personality changes in them. They become more aggressive, they become more suspicious, they become more demanding. And in kapha we see they become more anxious, they develop low mood, and they develop depression as well, and they get lost in familiar places, and they find it really difficult to perform their self-care tasks. And when the Alzheimer's disease advances, all the three doshas get involved, and they develop symptoms like hallucination, confusion, and delusion. So what is actually making us sick? What is the reason of Alzheimer's? As per Ayurveda, we can derive a conclusion that what is the causative factor of Alzheimer's in us. As Bredesen has described, that there are three main causative factors of Alzheimer's. So from there, we can see that the first two causative factors, inflammation and shortage of cognition supporting molecules, are directly linked with our metabolism. So we always talk about metabolism. So actually, what is metabolism? So metabolism is sum up of all the chemical changes like digestion, absorption, and assimilation, which is going on in our body. As you can see that there is a picture, we need fire to cook food outside our body. Similarly, we need some fire, some heat inside our body to digest everything, to break down the bigger molecules into simpler molecules, to from complex to smaller molecules. And for all this metabolic function, we need a very healthy digestive fire. And Ayurveda has a particular term for that, and that is called Agni. So if our Ayurveda believe if we have a good Agni, and so we can fight any diseases. So let's look up how Agni plays a role in our metabolism. So if our Agni is strong, it is believed that they leads to formation of healthy tissues, which leads to formation of ojas. So ojas are the stabilizing force of our body and mind, and it helps us to resist stress and withstand diseases. So it is believed that if we have more healthy ojas, we will have more ability to withstand disease, will have more mental stability, and we can handle life stress very easily. While as we don't have a proper Agni, if we have a very weak or low kind of Agni, then we develop a lot of indigestions, we don't digest the food properly, and there is accumulation of waste in our body, and those waste morbics are called ama, which is toxin for our body. And these amas are very sticky, so what they do is they clog up all the internal channels in our body, which block all the channels to get to provide nutrition to different part of our body. And accumulated toxins gradually will lead to weak our immune system and makes us more vulnerable to infections, which will ultimately lead to a lot of inflammation, maybe in our brain tissue or anywhere in our body. And if this weak Agni thing continuously goes on, then we might develop some serious neurological problems like Alzheimer's. So, on a conclusion, Ayurveda believes if we have a low digestive fire and excess production of toxins in the body are the main reason of any disease uh, taking place in our body. So there are certain things which can help us to keep our Agni strong or our digestive system strong. So we are eating 2 or 3 meals in a day, but do we know that how we should eat, what should be the amount of food we should eat, where we should eat? So I have the answer for all these questions. So we should only eat when we are hungry. We should not eat just because we are supposed to eat. And our environment where we are eating, that plays an important role in our senses and in our digestive system. So we should be eating in a calm sitting posture, and our full concentration should be on food. That will help us to digest properly, and we should not talk because that might lead to gigglication, and we are not concentrating on our food if we are talking while we are eating. We should always have a wholesome diet. So how we can assess what is our wholesome diet? So wholesome diet is which is as per our body type, which Dr. Rajvinder will later give us an insight about what diet suits us as per our body type. Our timing of eating plays an important role. So our main meal should always be our lunch, and dinner should be as lighter as possible, and breakfast only if we feel hungry in the morning. Otherwise, no need to have any breakfast. Quantity of food plays a major role in digesting a food. So eat a little less than your appetite. So when you feel like I can eat a little more, just stop there. Do not eat further, and do not overeat. uh, that will lead to avoid indigestion. So you can avoid indigestion if you eat as per your digestive capacity. So what does this digestive capacity mean? So Vata has a very sluggish kind of digestion, so they should eat in less quantity, while as Pitta, they have a very strong metabolism. So if they eat very less amount of food, so they'll be hungry in an hour or two. While as Kapha has a very slow digestion, so they should be eating, very smaller and fewer meals that will help them to digest properly. And water is a big question, like when we should have water while we are eating. So we should have water while we are eating, like during our meal. And that should be warm water, not, it should never be iced water or a cold drink or a cold juices, nothing. And we should avoid having any water half an hour before our food and 1.5 hour after our meal. And there are some small tip which you start practicing that will help you to digest really properly. It's sit quietly on your dining table after finishing your food, so that you can absorb all the energies of food properly inside your body for at least 3 to 5 minutes. And if it's possible for you, go for 100 step walk. You can just roam around in your house. Or for a Vata person, it is very good if they lie down on the left side of their body to take a rest after having their lunch. And sleep plays a very important role in digestion. So Ayurveda encourages to sleep by 10 p.m. and there should not be any daytime napping. So daytime napping doesn't mean that we are sleeping at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It also means that we should not be sleeping late up to 10 or 11 o'clock. So there are some particular measures which if we adopt in our life, we can balance our Vata or Pitta or Kapha. So for a Vata person, their diet should be really hot, warm and moist. Their choice of taste to balance their body type is sweet, sour and salty. This lifestyle should be full of rest. They should follow a regular routine, and they should try to keep themselves warm as much as possible. Sorry. And for Pitta body type, and for a Vata, if they perform Abhyanga, Shirodhara, and Nasya on a regular basis, so these three, are their go-to activities which they can do to keep their body type really balanced. And they should be avoiding dry, cold, frozen or raw foods and extreme cold weather and a lot of exertion, which means they should not be exercising too much, traveling too much. While as for Pitta, we can see that their diet should be really cooling, non-spicy, and their taste should be sweet, astringent, and bitter. They should be indulging in exercises during the cooler part of the day in a cool place, and calming activities like spend time in nature, meditation, swimming really calms a Pitta person and helps them to balance their body. A Pitta person should avoid excessive heat, so they should not take sun bath and go to beach and lying down on a beach. So sun bath is really avoidable for Pitta. They should avoid oily food, steam inhalation, and as sour taste increases, imbalances Pitta, so they should limit their salt intake, sour food, fermented food as well. While for kapha, we can see they should be having warm, dry kinds of food, smaller meal, and they should prefer taste like pungent, bitter, astringent. And in lifestyle, they can opt for fasting, plenty of exercise. The more they keep themselves active, the more they are balanced. And some dry massage can also help to balance their kapha. They should be avoiding heavy, oily, frozen foods, dairy products, sedentary lifestyle, and no daytime napping. So, like we saw that there are certain measures for each body type, but there are some activities which is good for everyone and to balance all the body type and for overall well-being of any individual. One of them activity is pranayama. So pranayama ensures us for free circulation of oxygen throughout the body, resulting in removal of blockages which are directly linked to our brain. So a Vata person should do, Anulom Vilom pranayama, like alternate nostril breathing. While for a Pitta person, they should be doing like more of a cooling breath, like Shitali pranayama. For a Kapha person, they should be doing more fast kind of pranayama like Bhrashtika pranayama. So this was one activity which you can opt to provide yourself more oxygenated blood inside throughout your body. Another activity is exercise. So we all know how important is exercise for us to keep us balanced. So regular exercise, especially yoga, can help us to improve our circulation, strength, and endurance. And it helps us to relax, to have a sound sleep, and improves our digestion and elimination as well. But how much we should exercise? So we should, as Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, all of them have a different body capacity, body strength. So we should be exercising half of our body capacity, and we can assess that when we'll start sweating from our forehead or our underarms or our spine. So these are the few poses like cat, cobra, cow, and camel pose, which are good for a Vata person. They should be doing like slow, gentle kind of exercises. While as for Pitta, they should be doing moderately fast and calming exercises. Poses like fish pose, boat pose, and bow poses are good for a Pitta person. While for a Kapha person, they should be doing rapid and vigorous exercises like bridge pose, peacock pose, palm tree pose, and lion pose. So we saw that the diet consideration, that the activities like pranayama and exercises. So Ayurveda has certain therapies which can help us to balance our body. And these therapies are not only curative, but they serves the purpose of preventive, curative, and rejuvenation, and it increase our overall general well-being. And there are certain therapies which can help us to postpone the onset or progression of Alzheimer's. So one of them is Abhyanga. I know many of you are like very familiar with Abhyanga, and most of us are performing Abhyanga on a regular basis. So Abhyanga is oil massage, is massaging oil to your own self daily in the morning, or you can do that by sesame oil or a warm coconut oil. How Abhyanga helps us? So Abhyanga helps to stimulate our nerve ending, which stimulates our brain. It helps to release oxytocin, which is a feel good hormone, and it also helps us for proper elimination of impurities from our body. Another therapy is Shirodhara. So Shirodhara is a therapy in which medicated oil or any warm liquid is poured on our forehead. So this pouring of liquid helps to creates a vibration which helps to stimulate pineal gland, and by stimulating pineal gland, it improves production of melatonin, which helps us to regulate our circadian rhythm and balance our sleep and wake cycle. It enhances blood circulation to our brain and also helps in our mental focus and concentration. The another therapy is Nasya. So Nasya is instillation or application of medicated liquid or oil inside a nostril is called Nasya in Ayurveda. It helps to cleanse all the channels present over here and which are leading to our brain, and helps to proper flow of vital forces in our brain, which is like oxygen. It also, Bragason has said that the nose is the gateway to our brain, and Ayurveda has also said that our nose is our door to our brain. So if we are putting anything inside our nose, that are directly going to our brain. And it also helps to prevent infection which we caught in our, like any infection through our respiration we are getting into our nose. So if we properly use Nasya on a regular basis, can help us to prevent infection going to our brain. And it nourishes our brain tissue as well, because nose is the door to our brain. So there are some good fats which are very necessary for our brain, and which is omega-3 fatty acid. So the ghee is enriched in omega-3 fatty acid. So what is ghee? It's a clarified butter. If we cook our food in ghee, that leads to less production of ama in our body, which ultimately leads to increased production of ojas, which increases our longevity and cognition. It is full of antioxidant, and it's rich in vitamin A, E, and K, which helps to improve our cognition. So there is one more recipe I would like to share with you all, and that is golden milk. So that's a very simple recipe. You need milk 100 to 150 ml. You need 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, few strands of saffron, and poppy seeds. You can use poppy seeds directly, or you can make a paste of it. All you need to do is just boil all these things together for 5 to 6 minutes and have it before your bedtime. So this is a very calming kind of recipe that will help to calm all your nerves and soothes your brain. Just try it and let us know how it works. So thank you everyone. This is it from my side, and I'll hand over to Noel.
Thanks, Dr. Naheed. Very good. Very good. So if you just want to unshare your screen, Dr. Naheed, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
So fantastic. So there's a lot of information in there, and just a couple of things I picked up on. I mean, really, and this comes up over and over again, is the importance of your digestion and the food that you're eating and the strength of your digestion. And probably the hardest thing people nowadays will be told to do is only eat when you're hungry. I mean, people just don't do it. People eat because it's the time of the day to eat, or they eat because they're stressed, and they eat because they're unhappy, or whatever reason that they do. But I actually believe a lot of people nowadays don't even know what it means to be hungry anymore, because we have such access to food all of the time. that you know, it's just there all of the time. And then people don't tend to be working in the same type of physical works that they used to do, so they're maybe sitting in a chair for most of the day, and with the result that agni, that fire doesn't build up. But that hunger is essential, because when you eat your food, you then have to digest it. And you, in order to digest that food correctly, you need a good fire. You need good agni inside of you. It's like the analogy of the fire that's barely lit, and then you put a load of coal on top of it. You know, it just goes out. You know, whereas if the fire is roaring, you can put loads of coal on top of it, and it's still just going to burn it up. So everybody should be working at getting their digestion going strongly, because the consequences of improperly digested food is ama, is toxins. And it's these toxins that cause inflammation, and it also causes toxicity on the brain. So, and these are the things that give rise to dementia. But not only dementia, they give rise to so many different disorders. You know, so many things, so many different health conditions that people get. So it's very, very important to eat good food. I would go so far as to say that I actually believe it's not possible to be really healthy unless you're eating good food. And what I mean by good food is, if you can at all, try buy locally grown organic food. Find a grower that's near you and buy in-season locally grown foods, free from pesticides. Because if you think about it, if you're eating food that's been sprayed with pesticide, and generally repeatedly sprayed with pesticides, and also gases and all sorts of different things and irradiated, you're ingesting those toxins into your system. They're still on that food. It doesn't matter that you wash it. They're ingrained in the cells. And unfortunately, as I've said before, I'd say if we took everybody on this call and examined their blood, we would find glycophosphates in there, Roundup, because it's just so virtually impossible to avoid nowadays. But that's toxic. It's more toxins that you're taking into your system. And really, when you think about it, it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts to be eating food that's been sprayed with chemicals. So get yourself, find a local grower. They're popping up all over the place now. They're popping up. And I use McNally Family Farm in North County Dublin, and Green Earth Organics in Galway. But the people on the Ayurveda course in the UK are always putting in names of this grower and that grower. So definitely find yourself someone who's grown, locally grown in-season food, and use that. Have your main meal in the middle of the day. And then if you need to strengthen your digestion, then there are things like trickatu and ginger and tricks to getting your digestion going strongly. And then some of the treatments that Dr. Naheed talked about, well, the Abhyanga, everybody can do. That's just self-oil massage. And we've talked about that many times. And you can just use sesame oil, or if you're very pithy, you can use coconut oil, and you just rub it on your body and you leave it on for 10 minutes and then you have a shower. And then the other one was Nasya. Now, Nasya actually, in Maharishi Ayurveda, it's very important. And we have a little product here. It's a little adapter and a dispenser. And this is basically sesame oil, but it's got about 13 or 14 different herbs in it as well. And the applicator allows you to inject it up your nose. And then you just breathe it back in. And as Dr. Naheed was saying, the nose is the gateway to the brain. And this is meant to be, actually in Ayurveda, they say it's good for everything above the neck. So things like sinuses, things like headaches, things like migraine, things like even foggy memory, all of those things. It's a very, very popular product. We're completely sold out of it at the moment. We're having difficulty getting shipments in, but we have lots of it ordered in. So hopefully within a week or two, it'll be back on our website. And it's just called MP16. And it's incredibly inexpensive. It's €10 for this little bottle of 10 ml, and that'll last a long time. And it's definitely something worth doing. In the meantime, just use sesame oil. Just use some drops of sesame oil in your nose. And then the other one that was there, which is very interesting, I saw someone putting it in the chats, is the Shirodhara. And the Shirodhara is where they pour the oil on your forehead. And if you ever get a chance to do it, because it is incredibly relaxing. It's just incredibly relaxing, especially for Vata people who are very busy minds. Vata people are going to be more prone to dementia and memory loss and things like that, because their minds are so busy. They're just running all the time. And if you don't get the control of that Vata, it just goes completely out of balance as you get older. And again, it's responsible for a lot more things than dementia, but dementia would be one of the things. And Shirodharas and Abhyangas and all of these things are very, very good for calming down the system. Now, a Shirodhara, you really need a technician to do that with you, there are lots of Ayurvedic clinics opening up around the place. I know in London anyway, there's quite a few, and Dr. Rajvinder and Dr. Rajvinder in Dublin and Dr. Naheed in Cork, you know, do Shiradaras for people. So it's a really, really nice thing to do. And then, you know, Dr. Naheed talked about Vata, Pitta and Kapha. For those of you that are on our Ayurveda course, you're getting a bigger understanding of what Vata, Pitta and Kapha are. For those of you that are not on that course, then join our next one. We're doing another course in June. It's a free course, so why not? Because understanding Vata, Pitta, Kapha is essential to all of this. It came up in Dr. Brennan's talk. It's coming up in Dr. Naheed's talk. You can't know about Ayurveda without knowing your body type, without knowing are you predominantly Vata, Pitta or Kapha, or where you're going with things. So I'm going to stop talking now because we still have Dr. Rajvinder, but if there's any, I'm going to unmute Dr. Brennan. Sorry, Dr. Brennan, you asked to unmute. And Dr. Naheed, are you still unmuted?
No.
Okay, and Dr. Brennan, are you muted? Oh, no,
no, I'm fine. Just questions have come up there again about milk. And yes, for Kapha, goat's milk is better than cow's milk. And we don't use skim milks because the fat in the milk is very useful, which is why it's extracted from as butter and then extracted again as pure ghee. And so it's not good when they interfere with the natural food like milk. What you do in the case if you want to lighten the fat content is you dilute it half and half with water and use that. I don't know if there's any other questions that need answering.
Where in Scotland could you get the oil treatments? I'm not sure if Angela Landers does them in Glasgow. I don't think
the only thing someone could do there is look up apa.uk.com, www.apa, Ayurveda Practitioners Association.uk.com, and they would find whoever's practicing in Scotland who should be, if they're a good quality practitioner, part of that register.
Yeah, so just Google APA and it'll come up, Ayurvedic Practitioners Association. Certainly there are quite a good few, because of the big connection between England and India, and you know, the Indian community, there are you know, lots of practitioners of Ayurveda in the UK. I know in London there's a company called Pura, P-U-R-A, Ayurveda Pura, yeah, and they're very, very good. They're very good. And then
Dr. Deepa Apte.
In Skelmersdale there's a clinic there, and also in Rendlesham in the south there's a clinic there, Maharishi Ayurveda clinics there.
Yeah,
we would know a lot of the technicians that work there.
Yeah, there was another question there about the milk, which is that they're not autoimmune disease and creating harm at some body types. It's why I think for Vata and Pitta it's excellent, and in Kapha we're better with the goat's milk. But the milk that Ayurveda would recommend would not be quite the same as what you buy in the supermarket here, which, you know, from cattle who have not been, from cows that have not been well-minded, whatever they've done to the cows is in the milk, if you like. They've been even engineered to be just pure milk producers. Whereas in Ayurveda, the cow is well-minded and the milk is organic, and it's also used only after cooking. So it's always brought to the boil, which makes it digestible. If these things, suggestions from Ayurveda, are not followed, then yes, it could have problems the way it's used nowadays.
Yeah, but if your kapha is out of balance and you are advised by your practitioner, then you avoid dairy, and then you can choose the plant-based milk get the benefit from the turmeric and poppy seeds and all that. You can still use it in the plant-based milk.
And Denise is asking, can you do the head massage as well as the Abhyanga? Yes, absolutely. Use the oil on your head, and like just get the oil and just rub it into your head and back of your ears. Your ears are a very Vata organ, you know. Back of your ears, your face. Yeah, absolutely. You can do the oil pulling at the same time, and yeah, so that's fine. And James is asking about too much sugar, refined processed sugar or natural sugars. Well, refined processed sugar is, you know, way worse than natural sugars. We should limit our intake of natural sugars as well. Like I would eat an orange rather than drink an orange juice, where you're taking the juice from 6 or 7 oranges, you know, and then you're getting the fiber with the orange, you know. But refined processed sugars, which are in everything, they're basically in, you know, if you're buying something with a label on it, it more than likely has refined sugar in it of some sort. So that's definitely worth avoiding. Definitely worth avoiding.
I think what people are becoming much more aware of is that simple sugars, as Rajvinder will be talking about now, they're not a great idea. And even white bread and white
cakes, cupcakes, candies, chocolates, sugar cereals. So that's what we are talking from sugar. So I'm going to cover about sugar a little bit later. So.
Yeah, good. Maybe to Noel, it's good.
Yeah, there is question what suppresses the need for sugar. Yes, I'm going to talk that as well. So we leave the sugar for that bit.
Maybe you go ahead with your talk, Rajvinder, and then we'll come back to the question.
Okay, and then we can do more questions later on. So if you want to go ahead, so I'll just introduce Dr. Rajvinder. I'm sure most of the people on the call know her anyway, but Dr. Rajvinder is an Ayurvedic doctor. In India, you become an Ayurvedic doctor. It's a 6-year degree course, and you become a Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine and Surgery. And Rajvinder moved to Ireland in 2007, I think it was, and she's worked for the Ayurveda ever since. And she's built up a very strong practice, and she does all our cookery courses. She does lots of consultations. She does treatments as well. So she's a very well accomplished and experienced Ayurvedic doctor. So I'll hand over to Dr. Rajvinder, and you can go ahead with your presentation, Dr. Rajvinder.
Yeah, 1 second. Okay, hello everybody. Thanks for joining us here today. And you have listened wonderful talk from Dr. Brannin and Dr. Naheed. So what I'm talking here is I'm going to cover the prevention strategies. So I know the topic is dementia and Alzheimer today, but what I'm covering, it is about how to prevent the brain issues in general as well. Even though all of these strategies you can adapt to keep your brain happy and healthy. So how to rebuild your brain in Ayurveda. So Ayurveda say memory loss is preventable. If you start on time, like you're listening from Dr. Naheed, you listened about Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and Vata, Pitta, Kapha is different in different stages of life. If we are more aware how we look after our children and how we look after our diet and our habits as we are young, and then later on in our 60s when we are into Vata phase of our life, as Dr. Brannin was explaining, with the aging, some of the brain functions slow down. So we can easily prevent it if we go with more awareness, have some more strategy of Ayurveda into our diet and into our lifestyle. So the phenomena that I am explaining in the beginning, as Dr. Brannin was talking about the synapses. So to make more synapses, the phenomena is called neuroplasticity. It is a very wonderful upcoming field in the modern science today. So what is neuroplasticity? So we used to think, scientists used to think that our brain is a hardwired computer. And once you have a brain built after certain age, you can change it. Now the scientists have done more research and they are saying, no, that's totally wrong. Your brain is actually not a hardwired machine. It actually is a plastic. So I don't mean it is plastic, but your brain has a capacity of a plastic that it is so flexible that it can change itself. So our brain is what we accumulate through our experience and what we think. As all of you have heard, we are what we think and what we experience. So that all the information stays in our brain. So we can easily rebuild our new neuron pathway and we can build new synapses and we can regenerate our brain with these new trainings, with Dr. Naheed recommendation of yoga, pranayama, by doing more kind of brain games, online brain games, meeting social people and doing other brain activities, learning a new language, learning new skills, all that. So all the different stimulations that we get internal from the food and spices and the external stimulation that have to keep on regenerating and re-strengthening our brain. So neuroplasticity is this phenomena where brain ability to restore itself, to regenerate itself. And I'm going to look into few strategies. There are a lot of different strategies to rebuild your brain and to do the neuroplasticity. I'm looking here into vagus nerve here. So lots of you might be familiar with vagus nerve. So vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve. It is the longest nerve in the body, and it is the nerve that connects your brain, connect your heart, and connect your gut. So this nerve is affecting 3 big organs in your body. So as you know, Dr. Brennan was explaining, there are 2 hearts, the brain and there are 2 brains. One is in your head and one is in your heart, and they both are connected with your gut. So vagus nerve is very, very important, and it's a gateway to your physical, to your mental, to your emotional, and to your spiritual health. So you have heard what happened in the vagus. It's not staying in the vagus. So it's going to go over your body. If you're under stress, your vagus nerve, which is parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest. Most of you are familiar with fight and flight, and when we are in stress, that's how we respond to the stress. Our blood pressure go up, heart rate go up, breathing go up, and when we are fully calm and relaxed, our vagus nerve is more calm, and our brain functions, our heart function, and gut functions are better. So that's why we are more interested into the vagus nerve. So there are 3 or 4 strategies that I'm going to discuss. Like Dr. Naheed has already covered the yoga aspect and the breathing aspect, and what I'm looking into here is cold and hot shower. So lots of you are listening that cold shower is actually very helpful for your immune system. Yes, cold shower helps to stimulate your vagus nerve, because at the cold temperature, it gives a shock to your body, and through that shock, your parasympathetic nervous systems get active. So for Vata people, because of the cold element, you do only maybe twice a month. For Pitta and Kapha people, they benefit a lot from the cold shower. So you go in the shower, start with the warm water, and when you're about to come out, quickly sprinkle cold water on your body. So that's the cold shower. The forest walk is very calming, very tranquilizing, and it really relaxes your brain a lot. So you can accompany a friend, and the best is your pet. So actually pet therapy, as Dr. Naheed was saying about oxytocin, the love of the mother, love of your pet, helps to release oxytocin in your body. And oxytocin is very important for those synaptic, for the neurotransmitters that Dr. Brennan was talking about. So just looking into the eyes of your pets, that just release a lot of oxytocin, and bonding and sharing with people that help with stimulation of vagus nerve, and that's helping to re-strengthen your brain. So brain is like a muscle. Like you go to the gym, you do training, you build up your muscles. So the similar way, you do different things to build up your brain. And then I'm looking into 3 or 4 Ayurvedic treatments that are very nice, calming, and relaxing treatments, and they stimulate the vagus nerve, and they help with not only the gut health, they also help with the mind and the brain. So Nabi Vasti, as you see in the picture, there's a little ring around the belly button, and the warm oil is poured by a technician. So as you know, Nabi is the place for solar plexus. So that's where the vagus nerve is surrounded by a lot of different other nerve endings and a lot of different nerve connections. So this is the place that you stimulate, and it stimulates your brain. So it's a very gentle treatment. So how to do at home? So I will suggest just to put a drop of oil, sesame oil, almond oil, or ghee, or with some fennel aroma oil before you go to bed. Just drop oil into your belly button, and that's how you can do. And if you have cognition decline and any other kind of brain issues, memory issues, then you use damp cloth, damp with oil, and you leave it longer. So this is a kind of a normal procedure, but professionally you can get it done by your Ayurveda practitioner or a therapist. And then Noel was talking about it, and there is some discussion about the head massage, and like you know about the craniosacral therapy, Indian head massage, and this here is called Shiropichu. So Shiropichu is again a damp cotton, and with the medicated oil, especially the oil for the brain is Brahmi oil. So you damp the cotton wool with Brahmi oil, and you leave it on your head for 30 minutes, 20 minutes. It enhances the sleep, and it's very good for vagus nerve stimulation and neuroplasticity, and it reduces the even other benefit of hair falling, graying of hair, memory loss, and all that. So just putting a cotton swab with damp into the oil onto your head, and followed by very gentle head massage. As Dennis was saying, should we do a head massage as part of Abhyanga? Yes, if it's possible, head massage is very good to do before your Abhyanga. So the third, we were talking about Shirodara. Shirodara is a wonderful, calming, tranquilizing, relaxing treatment, not only for your brain, also for your adrenal glands, and also to stimulate your gut and to benefit your digestion. So Shirodara offers lots of benefits to your health. So it is a warm oil, a stream of warm oil poured on your head, onto your third eye. And it could be herbal decoctions for Pitta people. It could be used from the takra, the yogurt, and the herbs are infused into it. So Shirodara calms the brain, nourishes the brain. It improves memory and concentration. It's very good for children with concentration and focus problem, with hyperactive issues and all of that. So Shirodara offers a lot of benefit, and it's actually, when people come for Shirodara and they leave it, they say, "Oh, you transformed me to a different world." So it's really is a wonderful experience to experience this treatment. And then aromatherapy. The smell of these aroma oils is very calming to your senses. Nowadays, we throw our senses, our eyes all day watching laptop, computer, TVs, too many smells, too many options for the food, too many loud noises. So we want our senses to be calm for our brain functions, for cognition functions, or for the focus and memory issues. So we have Vata, Pitta, and Kapha aroma oils. So they all customize according to the body types, because body type is very important. So that's why Ayurveda is an individual approach. So these oils are made by very care and love and according to the need of the body type. So aromatherapy is again for uplifting and stimulating of your senses. And then this last treatment here is marma therapy. So Dr. Benin performed very nice marma therapy, and marma therapy is awakening your energy, awakening the deep cells energy into your cells. So it is a very gentle touch to these delicate points. Most of people, you recognize this by EFT, emotional freedom technique. So Dr. Benin was talking about the trauma and PTSD and other brain issues. So marma or EFT is very helpful in those conditions. So in this picture here, I have they have highlighted some of the points, and I actually have made a video as well to do a marma on your face. So just tapping on those points or making a circular movements on those points is very helpful for improving the brain functions. So now, what is the Ayurveda perspective on the nervous system? So Ayurveda say our nervous system is our majja dhatu. So what is majja? So when we eat food, the rasa is formed. The end product of digestion is rasa. And then from rasa, the blood is formed, rakta. And from blood, the muscle tissues are formed, which is called mansa. And then fat tissues are formed. And then from fat tissue, the majja is formed. So you see how important it is to have fat in your diet, because if you don't have proper healthy fats, you're not going to form proper majja, and then there will be malnutrition, nutritional deficiency, and that will lead to the nutritional deficiency to your brain. So for a healthy majja dhatu, proper digestion, proper absorption, and proper elimination is very important. So majja dhatu functions again depends on vata, pitta, and kapha. If vata digestion is not happening properly, vata people don't have proper digestion, then there will be deficiency, as explained by Dr. Ben, atrophic Alzheimer. And if pitta digestion is not working properly, then there will be too much of inflammation in the body. So that is leading to neuritis and inflammation in the gut, and inflammation in the gut lead to inflammation in the brain. And then the kapha is too much of ama, and then that is leading to amyloid deposition. So proper diet and nutrition is important for healthy majja tissue formation. So I'm going to just look quickly here in this slide on Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Dr. Naheed has touched on some of the diet points. And here, what is for Vata people? Because Vata people, main qualities, they're dry, they're cold, and they're light. So that's what they want to avoid in their food. Dry, cold, and light. The food they should not eat. They should have more nourishing, healthy, warm cooked meal, and mildly spices, not too spices, very mild spices. And Vata people need to rest more, and they should travel less on their lifestyle, and they should do more breathing and meditation. And Pitta people, because of fire element in their body, they're prone to inflammation. So they need more cooling spices, more cooling foods in their diet, and they should avoid sugary food, sugary snacks, and fried food. And they should avoid skipping meals. They have to have their meals on time. And Vata Pitta people tend to have competitiveness. They get very competitive. So that's what they should be more careful on their lifestyle with their mind. Anger, anxiety, that's what they could be prone to. And the Kapha people need more stimulation. So Kapha diet should be more kind of hot and spicy, and Kapha should have small portions. And Kapha should avoid the rest in the daytimes, like a midday nap. It's very good for Vata people, Pitta people in moderation, and Kapha should sleep less. So that's on the lifestyle for Kapha people. And then in Ayurveda, it's not only what we eat, but it's also very important when what you eat, how you eat, when you eat, and where you eat. How you eat is very important because nowadays we are eating on the go. We don't connect with food very well, and that's why we have more cravings and we want to eat all the time. So Ayurveda say you should have more mindful eating. If you have family gathering with your friends, so you should enjoy food like a celebration. Every meal should be a celebration with your family member or with your friends. But in the quarantine now, maybe we can't do that. So it's better to enjoy the food with a peaceful mind. So should not watch TV, should not read a newspaper, and just take deep breaths and enjoy your meal, more mindful eating. And when you eat, when sun is high in the sky, 10 to 2 is the time when Pitta time is more strong, when Pitta is more stronger in the body and food digests better. So that's the time when you should eat your main meal. And you should leave 4 hours window. You shouldn't snack all the time. You should wait 4 hours before eating next meal. And then you should avoid running empty. Nowadays we get busy and the lunchtime is gone, we are working, we are in the meetings, and we are running empty. That's very damaging for the brain when we are running empty. And then I'm going to talk about this 12 to 3 fast strategy later on. And what you eat is a big question nowadays. So there is no kind of one solution to that. You need to balance your diet. If you're vegetarian and vegan or non-vegetarian, you have to have a balance of plant-based and animal-based food. And you should have 6 tastes in your diet according to Ayurveda. You should eat according to your body type, like Vata, Pitta, Kapha, more nourishing food, more anti-inflammatory food, more stimulating food. And then a rainbow and colorful plate is very important. So I'll be coming to that later. And Dr. Naheed already talked about the ghee, the healthy fat, and the spices. That has to be part of your diet as slowly, gradually build this up. So ghee, why ghee is so important in Ayurveda? Ghee is short chain fatty acid. Short chain fatty acid is directly linked with neuroplasticity. Short chain fatty acids easily pass the blood-brain barrier, and they are able to nourish the brain cells. And then it is rich in vitamin A, D, and E. And there's one wonderful butyric acid in the ghee, which heals the gut. It heals the gut lining. And through healing the gut lining, it nourishes your brain. And then all spices have medicinal values. There is no kind of set list of spices, but the research has proved 5 spices very important for your brain: saffron, turmeric, pepper, ginger, and all and the cinnamon. Saffron is a great antioxidant. That's why saffron is recommended. And turmeric as anti-inflammatory. Pepper, ginger for your metabolism, and cinnamon help to regulate the blood sugar. So that's why scientists have kind of proven those 5 spices from the brain health. But Ayurveda recommend all spices in your diet, but gradually, slowly build spices. So we're going to look here. All of you know about the wonderful Mediterranean diet. Why Mediterranean diet is so important? First of all, people come from the blue zones. They have less mind issues, less brain issues. Why? Because they have wonderful social network. They eat together. So the social aspect of eating together is very important as much as possible. Physically active. They people are very physically active as well. And then here in the diagram, you see the biggest part here is more vegetable, fruits, and grain. And that's how your plate should be. The biggest part of your plate should be more veggies, more fruits, more grains. And then there is a part for fish and seafood and egg. And then you can see here some sweets here, and the wine is there as well. And then there should be chocolate somewhere. So yeah, I'm going to just look into the proportion what should be in your diet. So Ayurveda, according to Ayurveda, your plate should be 40% vegetable in a day, 10% of your fruits, 10% grains, 10% healthy fats, which is ghee, olive oil, avocado oil, all the different fats, and 25% of protein, animal protein, plant-based protein from legumes, from fish, from dairy, fiber, soluble, non-soluble fiber in your diet, and 5% non-irritant spices, so they are organic spices, and 0.5% tea and wine and dark chocolate because of the flavonoid in them. Flavonoids are another category of nutrients which help with the brain. So dark chocolate and small amount of wine, not bottle of wine, and some supplements. So that's what the recommendation is about the diet, what should be your plate. And then Dr. Nancy, I was reading this, and also I experienced that as well in my clients. The vegan people or vegetarian people, they are more sensitive due to some reason to the toxins in the environment and in the toxins in the food. Why is that? Because vegetarian people don't balance their protein. They're deficient in their protein. So look, so many varieties of lentils and beans are out there, and we are only restricting ourselves to maybe one or two. So you need to learn the proper way of cooking these beans and lentils, and they're full of proteins. So you need to increase your uptake of protein, and that makes you more resilient to toxin, more resilient to stress, and that makes your brain more stronger. And then, so nourish your brain with diverse, cleansing, and colorful foods. So quickly, I'm looking at what are the cleansing foods and what I mean by diverse. So avoid toxins by eating coriander. As all of you know, coriander is great for metal and other toxins into your body to clear out all of that. It's a wonderful diuretic. And mint and parsley and basil, they also help to get rid of this metal toxicity or other kind of toxins from the body. Maca is a wonderful nourishment for the brain. It strengthens the nervous tissues. Radishes, wonderful cleansing, open up the bile channels, open up the liver. Celery, arugula, because of the bitter taste, arugula helps to cleanse the liver. And there are other bitters like fenugreek, mustards, which I haven't mentioned here. So as much as possible to include these cleansing vegetables in your diet. Any as much as possible, no processed food, no tin food, and no leftovers, and fresh, local, organic as much as possible. Eggs are healthy. Lots of people ask me, are egg healthy? It depends on how much you consume, so you have to balance that. As I said earlier, healthy fats, olive oil, avocados, nuts, wild catch fish, not only tuna, the other salmon, mackerel, those type of fishes, and which you can have, because 60% of your brain is made up of fat. So you need to have good quantity of fat in your diet. And then the colorful plate, the colors in the food, they really have a lot of benefits to your health. So the red food, very good source of antioxidant, anti-inflammation. Orange food help to balance your hormones. Yellow food, because of the fiber in them, they're great for digestion, great for elimination. Green food, rich source of a lot of nutrition and wonderful for your heart. And the blue, purple food, they improve the cognition, they improve the mood, they improve the memory. So as every week you try to have more options in your plate, rather than just sticking to carrots, peas, and broccoli. Try to have more red cabbage, try to have arugula, try to have radishes, and try to have blueberries. So that's how your diet is more balanced if you're writing your diet. So the next I'm talking here is healing your gut. So Dr. Brennan talked a little bit about the leaky gut. So leaky gut is your leaky brain. So as I already talked about the vagus nerve, what happens is the vagus doesn't stay in the vagus. So vagus is in the solar plexus, in your tummy, in your belly. So if it's affected, if it's not working properly, it's going to affect everything else in the body. So it's very important that your gut is functioning properly. So to improve your gut, first of all, yes, you need to eat according to the Ayurveda, Mediterranean, Indo-Mediterranean diet. You have to have all those balance. And so what are the recommendations here? So you eliminate all the processed food, all the refined sugars, all the GMOs, herbicides, chemical, alcohol, antibiotics, anti-inflammatory, any kind of drugs, and stress. And avoid the silent stressors in your life. So silent stressor could be skipping meal, lack of sleep, running empty, overtraining, over exercising. So these are overwhelming relationship, overwhelming job. So you need to look into all those stressors for your gut, and include healthy grains like quinoa, amaranth, millet. So buckwheat, these gluten-free grains offer a lot of fiber, a lot of nutrition, a lot of microminerals. And follow Ayurveda routines. Eating with awareness is very important. Avoid eating on the go, and good relationship with your food. So cooking should be a ritual, and it should be an enjoyable experience. So try to get into the kitchen as much as possible, and experiment, make cooking as an art, and you enjoy the food more when you have that wonderful relationship with the food. And cook with healthy fats, spices, and slowly build up this new way of eating if you're not already into Ayurveda. And if you have problem with your leaky gut, then you seek a professional advice. So for the leaky gut, bone broth, vegetable broth, trikatu, slippery elm is a wonderful herb. So these herbs help. And dandelion, nettle tea, digestin, Ayurveda, these help to restore the gut lining and help to restore the digestive functions. And the triphala is a wonderful herb. It just work on all the different levels of digestion if you have problem with your digestive system. So then for the gut, all of you know the gut bacteria are very important. They are our best friends, and we need more them more than we need friends. So what are the two strategies here to restore your gut bacteria? So prebiotic and probiotic. So Ayurveda prebiotics here, you see a lovely picture of hingu there. If you don't know what hingu is asafoetida. It is a resin from a plant, and it's a wonderful prebiotic. And you just use a pinch into the beans, into the lentils, into your cooking, only a pinch. And then other fiber from your food, they also feed your gut bacteria. So like inulin, the fiber from onion and garlic, and dietary fiber from vegetables. So again, variety of vegetable like artichoke, asparagus, plantain, dandelion, chicory, beets, yams, cassava. Cassava is actually a wonderful substitute to cheese and tofu. It really tastes great, and it's very good to repair the gut lining, and it's wonderful source of fiber and food for this gut bacteria. Apple, jackfruit is another very popular vegetables now for vegan. And so good fats, olive oil, ghee, dairy, nuts, avocado oil, and start with small amount if you're not familiar with these herbs and spices. I say that again and again, and you gradually build it up. So, and the probiotic, lots of people ask about what probiotic is good for me, how long should I take it, should I take kefir, should I do this? Yes, if your gut is compromised and you're having bloating, you're experiencing some issues around your gut, then you include small amount of probiotic. Otherwise, the homemade probiotics like kefir, pickled, gherkins, sauerkraut, yogurt is wonderful to have fresh cultured yogurt, and pickled ginger, marinated olive in the brain. So you can ferment these vegetables easily at home. Avoid vinegar and all the other stuff, cayenne pepper and everything that's full in kimchi and all these things. So make these things at home. But if you need and your practitioner advice, you might need to go for a probiotic, but take that under observation as well. Some people take probiotic for years and years. It doesn't work after a few months. So you need to change the strain, because there are so many different strains of bacteria that you need for your gut function. And what Ayurveda recommendations for food here is for probiotic. Lassi, wonderful, delicious drink, is the yogurt that you blend with some herbs and spices, bit of hingu, bit of black salt, mint leaves, and water, and blend them together. It's actually a very nice, refreshing drink in India in this summertime. Is this strong heat to keep the body calm, and that's how the people replenish their gut bacteria with lassi. And homemade pickle, chutneys, and easily you can make this chutney. You can learn coconut mint chutney, basil chutney, and then ginger pickle, radishes pickle. You can easily make it at home, and they're a wonderful source of metabolism and heal your gut. Okay, so this is about the healing gut. The next I'm talking about the wonderful sugar, the favorite of all. So we're gonna see, is sugar really toxic? And Dr. Branning touched on the glucotoxicity. So glucotoxicity, what is glucotoxicity? Yes, the toxicity from glucose. So glucose is a toxin. Is glucose a toxin? Actually, our brain needs glucose for its growth. We all need glucose. The exercises we do, we run, our body fuel is glucose. So what form of glucose we absorb, that matter. So what I was talking earlier, the cakes and the candies, refined cereals and refined wheat bread and white bread. And when we don't consume grain in its whole form, and we consume refined oil, refined salt, refined sugar, processed food, that lead to too much of glucose in your body. And you eat too much, continuously eating, you're continuously snacking. Then you have too much flow of glucose. And on the top of that, if you're not a very active person, and there is a lot of unused glucose in your body, and then your body is releasing insulin to digest it, but your cells are overrun, they don't want it. So then this lot of glucose is lying around into the blood, and then it is keep on piling there, and that lead to AMA, and that lead to amyloid, and that is then toxic because your brain is not able to use it now. So when your brain need the fuel from glucose, it's plenty there, but it can't use it. So you need to reset it. If you have insulin resistance in your body, you need to kind of change it, change that sensitivity from insulin. So first is your diet. And the second, how you know you have insulin resistance. So if you have craving for sugar, craving for salty food, you have memory fog, you have fatigue, you have concentration issue, your hunger is increased, and you have tingling sensation in your body, and elimination is not regular. So it tells you a little bit there is some insulin sensitivity going on. And in women, PCOD, all that issues are related to insulin sensitivity. So it does cause a lot of damage to your brain, to your hormones, to your gut. So it's a big one. So how to get rid of this insulin sensitivity? Ayurveda say fasting is critical. So fasting is one way to deal with this insulin resistance. So how to do fasting? There are so many different methods of doing fasting. So fasting is an individual approach that you do under your practitioner if you are not comfortable with. So time restricting fasting, Ayurveda recommend 1 liquid day. So you can do 1 liquid day in a week. And then here I'm going to recommend keto flex, 12 over 3-hour window fasting. What's that mean? That means 12-hour fasting, and which means you don't eat 3 hours before you go to bed. So that's easily done. If you go to bed by 10 and you don't eat after 7, so from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., that's your 12-hour fasting, and you're going to bed by 10, and you're leaving those 3 hours for your body to wind up, for body to prepare to go into this keto phase, into this fasting where body start burning the fat and releasing ketones. And actually, why it is important to go to bed at 10 o'clock? That's the time when your cerebral fluid runs around, and it works as a vacuum cleaner. It clears all the toxins, all the emotions, everything that you have absorbed through your senses and eaten through your mouth. It cleared from 10 to 2. So that's why Ayurveda say you go to bed by 10 and you don't eat 3 hours before you go to bed. So some people have a bad habit to have a snack at the bedtime. Some people say, I eat a sandwich before you go to bed. So you see how important is that not to eat 3 hours before and not and go to bed at 10. So that's a wonderful strategy that Ayurveda is telling here to do the fasting. And then it's important if you can do the fasting of your senses once a month, once a week, no technology, and practice silence and all those other kind of give a break to your senses as well. So the key to restore your insulin sensitivity, reduce any ongoing inflammation, that's very important, with your diet and exercise. Supplements, like somebody asking the question, and then how to deal with the sugar craving. So berberine is wonderful to regulate the blood sugar. Ginseng is a wonderful herb. Gymnema sylvestris, and the bee trim tree in Ayurveda. Bee trim tree has all these bitter herbs in it that helps with the sugar craving. So to deal with the sugar craving, you eat bitters. So you have to start drinking and eating bitter herbs. And if you can't deal with hunger and you can't go for, you have to have snack in between your meals, and you can't do long fasting, then take a tablespoon of MCT oil or organic coconut oil or ghee. That helps to keep you go longer. And then bed by 10, I already explained that. So these are the strategies that can help you to reverse the insulin, restore the insulin sensitivity, and automatically you benefit from not only for your brain, for overall health. So some detox strategy I'm recommending here, how to detox your body and detox your brain. So wise water. So Dr. Nancy recommended a very nice recipe for wise water, which is cumin, coriander, and fennel. I already told about why cumin is so good. The coriander is so good because it's a diuretic and it clears a lot of toxins from the body. Cumin reset your digestion, and the fennel is wonderful for vata. It calms your mind and it works on the hormones. So this drink, you just boil boil a quarter teaspoon of the three spices into water for 5-10 minutes. You strain it and you sip it. You can make yourself a liter flask and you sip it through the day. And then you can also make, if you're not familiar with the spices, you're new to the spices, you can make this smart spice mixture. So fennel 6-part, cumin 4-part, coriander 4-part. Fenugreek is the bitter spice, good to have fenugreek here, and turmeric 2 parts. And you just blend them together, keep in a little jar. And when you have cooked your food, you can sprinkle over your food, or you can cook with some fat, or you can put into water, you can drink it. So many different ways you can use this smart spice. And in Maharshi Ayurveda, we have this Vata Pitta Kapha Churna. If you're new to spices, you don't know how to use spices, just get this churna and just sprinkle over your food according to your body type. And then there are Vata Pitta Kapha tea, again to balance the Vata Pitta Kapha. Their herbs are already chosen very wisely to balance the Vata Pitta Kapha in the body. And Dr. Naheed already given you the recipe for wonderful golden milk, and then a teaspoon of ghee into the golden milk is wonderful to nourish your brain, increase your memory, and calming Vata. So if you're a very Vata person, you benefit from a little ghee into the golden milk. So then there are few Maharshi Ayurveda herbs. So the strategy here was to look into the parameters, what causing your health damage, if it's the sugar related, if you have gut issue, or if you need to stimulate your vagus nerve, or you need to detox yourself. So you need to detox and you need to nourish your brain. So that's how you have to. So if you have something going on, you don't have the strength to detox, you ask your health Ayurveda practitioner, they help you to prepare your body to detox your body, and then you're able to absorb and nourish yourself better. So few herbs here like guruchi, Genitrak, Elimtox, B-trim, and Trifla. Just touching. Dr. Brennan is going in detail about the herbs. So these are just few or 4 detoxing and nourishing herbs that I would recommend. So okay, thank you very much. Thanks. I have to stop.
Okay, thanks very much, Dr. Rajvinder.
Thank you.
Asking or unmuting Dr.
Thank you.
Okay, so a lot of information in there, and we'll be sending out a pack actually, so don't worry too much about trying to absorb this. Actually, it's just as well we're going to run it again, because there's a lot of stuff in there that, you know, it's very hard to take it all in the first go, but we will be rerunning this anyway, and you can get to see it. But again, it's coming back to digestion. Is coming back as a big part of everybody's talk here today, is getting your digestion strong and correct. And you know, Dr. Rajvinder was saying the same things that I was saying, not eating processed foods, not eating junk food, eating your main meal in the middle of the day, and then using the spices to try and strengthen your digestion and to you know, to get things going properly. So I think there's Brian O'Driscoll there says, terrific, thank you. So Heather is asking, what time would you drink golden milk? So I presume it's before you go to bed, Dr. Rajvinder, would that be?
Yeah, ideally it's just like if you have eaten your dinner 6:30, then you take it like 3 hours before you go to bed, so 7:30. But if you're Vata people, I recommend you take during the Vata time of the day, which is 2 to 6 p.m. So roughly like 4 o'clock, that you benefit more into the Vata time.
I suppose if somebody was having sleep problems, that would be a reason for taking it before bed.
Yeah, it releases milk is rich in tryptophan, and then through tryptophan you increase melatonin, so it helps with the sleep, especially if you're having poppy seeds and all that, you will feel very sleepy. So yeah, it's if you have sleep issue, then definitely the bedtime is more recommended.
So Kathleen is asking, is it bad to eat chickpeas and beans from a tin? Well, my opinion would be, it would be. It's not a great idea to eat anything from a tin, but maybe you want to say about that?
When you talk about Ayurveda, you talk about the vital energy, the prana that you want from the food. So when you have tinned the food, you boil them a month ago and they are on the shelf, there is no vital energy, there is no nutrition in that. But then it's just like if you're not familiar, you're new to these things, then you start and then gradually move to cooking from scratch and cooking from your kitchen. So then that's better. So there is tinned food is, plus it is aluminium, and that's going in your body, and aluminium is so bad for your brain. So there's a lot of factors to consider here.
I think there's also a chemical lining put on inside tins. If you ever look into what the food industry does to food, you'll just be absolutely shocked about what goes on with your food. I mean, it's just incredible what they get away with. I mean, I saw a program once where tinned grapefruit, where they dropped the whole grapefruit into acetic acid to get rid of the skin. And then they dropped it into an alkaline substance to balance it out. And that balanced out the pH, and they didn't have to put that on the tin or anything like that. They didn't inform you that your grapefruit was dropped into sulfuric acid. They peel it first, then but the white bits are still on it, so they drop it into acid to remove the white bits. Then they drop it into an alkaline substance, and then it's balanced out the pH, so they're able to say, well, they don't even have to say what they did, you know. But even if you look into it, you see some of the stuff that's done that they have to come up with. It's just incredible. So I think avoid processed foods. The great Deepak Chopra used to say, don't buy anything with a label on it, which I would tend to agree with him, you know.
Yeah, and some of the food go through radiation to stay longer on the shelf life. So it's radiated already. So that's why organic food is now coming up more and more and more.
The biggest thing any food processor wants to do is shelf life. The longer they can keep that food on the shelf, the more likely it is they're going to have to sell it, and it's not going to be returned. So shelf life is what they're aiming for. And then they're putting all sorts of stuff in there to maintain that shelf life. And they just denaturize the food. Now, I'm not saying, if you go online and look at this, there are scientists that will absolutely disagree with everything we're saying here. Will say, no, this is nonsense, it's rubbish. Processed foods is every bit as good as organic foods and all that sort of stuff. And they'll be shown one set of research, and someone else will be shown another set of research, and then someone will also research to refute the research that they showed, and it can go on forever and ever and ever. But I don't even bother with all of that anymore. It's just, your intuition should be enough to tell you about the food that you eat. And then if you change over and start eating good food, then it's not just your intuition, it's the way that you feel after you've eaten that food that's going to let you know that. But Ayurveda would be saying locally grown, in-season foods wherever you can, you know, and avoid processed foods. But we don't live in an ideal world, so I understand sometimes people come home, they're tired, they have a tin of soup or whatever. It's trying to get the balance, bring the balance more towards a more natural.
Yeah, you just don't do it over and over. Just try to find the balance. As if you have 3 days in a week, if you have fresh food at least, then that will be something. So Asset is asking about what oil for Nabi. I would say sesame oil, almond oil, ghee, and if you have other issues, then you can go for fennel oil, other kind of special oil but in general, these will be the recommendation.
And Aisling says microwaving kills prana, and I'd absolutely agree with that as well. We wouldn't, if you have a microwave, throw it out. That would be our recommendation. Someone asked about lassi. So Rajvinder, if you want to describe what lassi actually is,
What is the question?
What is lassi?
What is lassi? Okay, so lassi is actually made from fresh cultured yogurt. So you take roughly a tablespoon of cultured yogurt and you dilute it with water, so a cup of water. And you can have a pinch of asafoetida and a pinch of black salt and a black pepper, and then a few mint leaves, and you blend them together. So you can have, this is a recipe that I'm giving, is salty lassi. You can also have sweet lassi. So for sweet lassi, you might just add a little bit of a sweetener, or just without any herb or spices. So lassi, because of the yogurt, it is a probiotic. So it's a wonderful source to give probiotic to your gut. And the lassi is the one drink that is in Ayurveda is allowed to drink with your food. Because if you know, and from the courses, some of people, you're not allowed to drink too much of water with your food. You need to sip. And lassi is one wonderful drink that aid with the digestion, that help with the digestion. So it is a probiotic drink. And it is not too strong like kefir or anything else. It has a balance of the good bacteria and everything. And it is a very refreshing and cooling drink for pitta people. So especially it is drink in summertime. So in India, like in this hot summery day, they drink lots of lassi. So that's what lassi is.
Thanks, Dr. Rajvinder. We won't say not allowed. We'll say not recommended. There will be nobody calling around to your house.
Okay, not recommended. All right. Thanks for correcting.
I'm not corrected. I'm only making a joke. Anyway, Dr. Brennan wants to do a summary now about the things that we've gone over. So thanks very much for that, Dr. Rajvinder. And Dr. Brennan, if you want to go ahead and share your screen or say whatever you need to.
Great, thanks very much, Noel. I'll just talk straight without the screen share.
But
I thought Rajvinder's insight into the vagus nerve was quite interesting. It adds new dimension to the old saying, "The way to a man's heart is through his stomach."
Oh,
So,
wow. Nice. Yeah.
so really what I wanted to do now was bring a summary in terms of actual recommendations, because there are takeaway points that you should take away from these talks, and they come equally from Ayurveda and the Bredesen Protocol. It's quite fascinating that the Bredesen Protocol is integrating so much of what Ayurveda would recommend. So I just wanted to bring to your attention things that you should be certainly thinking about doing if you're not already doing. And so the first thing I would have to say is that if you are seriously worried about, your cognitive state and fearful of Alzheimer's or dementia, you should have a medical consultation. You should, if you're of age, see a geriatrician specialist, so that there are issues which can give rise to cognitive impairment that they may be able to spot and eliminate. The first thing is that there are drugs out there which in and of themselves can cause dementia, and certainly there's so many combinations of drugs, the effects of which are not scientifically studied when you take in combination. So no known effect of any combination of drugs in an individual person. So the geriatrician could assess your drugs and the need of them and sort of ensure that they're not the problem. Things like Valium and sedative drugs, antipsychotic drugs, mood stabilizing drugs are particular for that effect. Then there's the issue of heavy metal toxicity. It may be that they could test and find out that. Infections, there can be a chronic, ongoing, subtle infection you're hardly aware of, urinary tract infection, sinus infection, and actually getting that cleared up might be eliminating the cause of the toxins or the inflammation that's giving rise to inhibition of brain cells. There's metabolic things like your insulin, your hormone levels. Particularly the ladies, their hormones, but also men, testosterone, thyroid hormone. Even a minor lack of thyroid hormone can have an influence on the brain. The insulin resistance could be checked for. Homocysteine is another interesting one, because those with high homocysteine, which is indicates their body can't detox. The liver has a problem in one stream of detoxing, and that actually is associated with higher incidences of heart problems and dementia. And so that can be easily treated with B vitamins, and sleep apnea has to be outruled. And then we get to really the bones of things. What you can do, because the people on the 100 people who are with us are not suffering from dementia. And so what can you do for your memory? What are the things that you should be thinking about? First, avoid stress. Ayurveda says that stress is the really worst thing for dissipating ojas, and you've heard from Dr. Naheed how ojas is really the essence of good health and strong tissues. So stress is known to increase your blood sugar, to create leaky gut, to create the leaky gut creates inflammation. It creates a leaky blood-brain barrier. Things are getting through the brain which shouldn't. The stress impacts the cardiovascular disease. And if you have just 3 months of stress, you'll reduce your hippocampus by 25%. That's the filing cabinet for short-term memory. 25% reduction in just 3 months. So on the other side, if you want to do something really positive to ensure that your whole system is more immune to stress, I would strongly recommend the transcendental meditation technique, which regular practice leaves you more settled in the middle of the chaos. The second thing to think about, because consciousness, that's sublime presence or awareness that the TM is all about, from there we become lively as mind. And the most sublime aspect is our feeling. And the feelings have a very profound impact on the body. And so to protect your brain, a good social network Dr. Raj was going into that. So the research would show that just 8 social contacts is enough to have a protective effect for your brain. The third thing I would say is the Vata, the Pitta, and the Kapha. Know about them and know, therefore, how to individualize for you the lifestyle, the diet, the experiences that are appropriate to keep you balanced, because that's a profound way. Now, and another example thing to think about is, as Dr. Raj again mentioned, keep your brain active. You know, that's very effective in warding off this increasing memory loss. And do new things, learn a new language or play a new instrument or use your left hand, your non-dominant hand for those things. These things light up your brain. There's also that brain training online. You could look up Double Decision or a company called Brain HQ, and they have evidence-based brain challenging games to play that are helpful. Even 15 minutes 3 times a week, but you'll have to pay for it. Regular exercise. Not only do you exercise your brain, you should exercise your body. And 40 to 45 minutes brisk walk 5 times a week, but also add in strength training. And exercise reduces that insulin resistance, it increases the size of the hippocampus, it improves heart functions, cardiovascular systems, it reduces stress, improves sleep, and it actually increases the survival of newborn or new developed neurons, and it improves your mood. And nowadays, the talk is that sitting is the new smoking. Just sitting all day, every day, you know, at work or whatever, is really bad for the health. So if you are a sitting job, every 45 minutes at least, get up, walk about, have an excuse to go get a cup of tea, whatever. Make your break, stand, walk. Some people are now working standing at desks in order to not involve themselves in sitting all day. Then Dr. Naheed was talking about yoga and the many beneficial effects that has, and the pranayama, and using your Ayurveda to, again, be more specific as to what pranayamas and what yoga exercises, adding another lovely dimension to that. But that's another strategy for you for your good memory. Sleep is so important. And not just that you need 8 hours, which you do. 7 to 8 hours, everybody needs. You need the timing right. Because between 10 and 2, you go into deep sleep quite a bit. Up to 70-90% of your deepest sleep can be in these 4 hours. And that's the time when your brain flushes, opens up a lymphatic system, it's called, glial cells that collapse, creating channels all over the brain, and 10 to 20% the volume of fluid flush through to clear out the rubbish. At this time as well, the synapses that are unnecessary and no longer functional are broken down. The raw ingredients will be used in the next phase of sleep, and the brain is just generally cleaning itself up. At the same time, memory is being transferred across from your hippocampus up to your cerebrum to go into long-term memory. The second 4 hours between 2 and 6, which Ayurveda would say is Vata time, there's dreaming. So this is most of your dreaming, and this is where you integrate that new knowledge that you've gained the day before with life's experience. And this is where you're building the new synapses now. So you're actually restructuring by this neuroplasticity your brain, particularly as you sleep. So your sleep is terribly important. You know, so many people are underslept, they're miserable, and they're dysfunctional. They're actually not reaching their potential because they just don't get the sleep. But that's important for your brain. Next, the diet and digestion. So we've had a lot about that because it's so significant in terms of the whole nourishment of the whole system, and especially the brain. And all that we've talked about in terms of the awareness, the proper eating, the spices in the cooking, and the herbs that heal the gut, talked about avoiding the irritants that upset the gut, like your Nurofen and your acid tablets, your antacid tablets, and your antibiotics, these are very destructive for the poor bowel and the lining of the bowel and create that leaky gut. But also the other toxins in the processed foods, the colors, the flavorings, the additives. So you want to avoid the irritants to your gut, and then you can rehabilitate your gut in the ways that Rajvinder was talking about with the probiotics, the prebiotics, and then choosing the really good diet, keeping in mind the principles that Rajvinder was bringing out, but orientating it to you in terms of your vata, your pitta, your kapha. And then there were the superfoods that they mentioned. The ghee is a superfood for your brain. And remembering that your brain is up to 70% oil or fat in its structure. And the ghee carries nutrients, fat-soluble vitamins into the brain. And the golden milk was another one. The lassi was mentioned, and the smart spice mix were mentioned as, superfoods for you to use. And then we had the fasting at night for 12 to 16 hours, that overnight fast, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Or if you're a kapha, you could run it through to 1 p.m. the next day. And it wouldn't be hard for you, and you'd feel so much the better for it. And then leaving 3 hours before the last meal at night and going to bed. And keep clean. Please keep clean, particularly you ladies. And what I mean, particularly you ladies, by that, ladies have a greater instances of dementia. And we have to ask why. Now, one thing is definitely the hormonal system, because after the change of life, there's a drop in the estrogen, and that is having an impact. But it could be that your cosmetics are having an effect, because cosmetics in the main are petroleum products. Now, you might as well put them into your mouth, because if they're there with oil as a vehicle, they'll be carried through your skin into your system. So don't put anything on your skin that you wouldn't put into your mouth. And don't use these sprays, these artificial perfumes, these colognes. Get natural products. And in the house, use clean cleaning materials, friendly, environmental friendly cleaning materials. And use natural fabrics, wear natural fabrics, and avoid the toxic chemicals from the dry cleaning as much as you can anyway. And then in keeping yourself clean, you need water filter, because the chlorine and God knows what else is in the waters we drink, and you need organic foods. To help your body clear toxins and clean inside, there are many foods like coriander, cruciform vegetables. Rajvinder was mentioning avocados, garlic, grapefruit, lemon. These are great as cleansing foods. Saunas are very interesting because they're specifically useful for clearing heavy metals. And then we come to exercise helps detoxing, the fasting helps detoxing, but we come to Ayurveda Panchakarma treatments. There are treatments within Ayurveda which are geared specifically to removing toxins, and particularly the fat-soluble toxins. Remember, they're the ones that get dissolved in our brains, which are fat-soluble. And but they're sort of intensive courses of treatments, and there are aspects of the Panchakarma that you can use, as Dr. Naheed and Dr. Rajvinder were telling you, the Abhyanga, the Nasya treatment, the Shirodhara, the Shirapichu, and the Nabibasti for digestion, and then the other two, of course, is the aroma oils. And the 12th thing then is supplements. So in the Bredesen protocol, he uses a lot of supplements, a lot. And many of them would be prescription only. And I don't think it's necessary for us to go there unless we have a really serious medical condition, but we can use a lot of the other supplements. He also uses vitamins, minerals, and what I would suggest, and I've asked Noel to stop this, it's It's a multivitamin, multimineral product which contains very high proportions of all the vitamins, D, E, C, and B vitamins. They're all there, plus minerals. And that 50 plus was designed for people over 50. So that's one way of getting your vitamins intact, 2 capsules in the morning. And the other thing is omega-3, omega-6. You can certainly get them from a combination of flax, sunflower, pumpkin, sesame seeds. But there's a cycloplan also have an omega vegan, omega-3 vegan. So those are the 2 supplements I would be thinking of, because our digestive systems with age can decline, and the extra supplements can be an addition and a help. Dr. Bredesen also talks about single herbs. He uses Ayurveda herbs a lot. And one is called Brahmi, which is the best tonic for memory, and Gotu-Kola. Those 2 are the best Ayurvedic tonics for memory. Ayurveda has a class of herbs called Meja herbs, which are for the mind and the brain. And these would be from that class. Ashwagandha would be another, which is the best tonic for a man's body in general, but it's really good for helping both body and mind cope with stress. It's helpful for getting us to sleep. So this ashwagandha is a very good brain tonic. And for ladies, shatavari. Shatavari is the best herb for a lady's body, in all phases of her life, but it's also a great brain tonic. There are others called like Shankapushpi, Amla. Pepperly is a very interesting one, a relative of black pepper. It removes the toxins from the brain. Tinospora is a wonderful tonic. It nourishes our tissues. So in rehabilitation, it's a very good tonic, and it also is very powerfully helpful to the immune system. And remember, it's the immune system. It's like the immune system going to war, who's sort of doing collateral damage. Well, Tinospora is very good for helping the immune system so that it doesn't create too much inflammation. Then we have Maharishi Ayurveda products. And the Maharishi Ayurveda products, Maharishi got this council of Ayurvedans to recommend from the traditional texts, in their experience, the best products. And specifically, he had this range developed and tested at every stage of production, and tested when they come into Europe, so that we know they're very pure. So one is Youthful Mind, it's MA3, and its primary herbs are this Brahmi herb. So it's for memory, predominantly. And there are 2 called Study Power and Study Support. One's a syrup, one's a tablet. This Study Power syrup would be a wonderful thing for the very young child, 1-year-old and from there on, just as their brains are developing. And Study Support tablets are good for any of us at any phase of our life, because they contain these media herbs. If the mood gets disturbed, blissful joy lifts the mood and supports the brain again. And peace of mind would have the effect of quietening, relaxing if we were tend to be anxious. Ayurveda would apply oils specifically to the head for this condition, Alzheimer's, but to the body, because the oils are absorbed. And so there's a Vata hair oil with herbs, which is good to use on the head, which Noel is trying to source at the moment. And there's a Shira Balatile, which is a number MA3508, which is for the body, the moustache and the body. And then, of course, there are the Maharishi Ayurveda herbals that remove toxins, like Rajvinder was talking about, liver care tablets, Jenny Track, Limtox tablets. And finally, the Amrit Kailash. Amrit Kailash is a specific tonic Maharishi asked for from the Vajas for Ojas. That's the most protective thing, and the thing that promotes cognition, consciousness best. And this Amrit Kailash comes in 3 forms: a tablet and a paste, which are 2 different recipes, but for that same function. And the paste has ghee and sugar, so people who don't want to be taking the ghee and sugar, or for the like of diabetic, there's MA7, which are the same ingredients other than no ghee, no sugar. And so these 3 products are the Rolls Royce, I suppose, of the Ayurveda products for general health and for brain health. So those are the recommendations. And in summary, it would be true to say that you can definitely reduce your risk of Alzheimer's by 80% at least, if not, completely. And some proofs are that the dementia due to blood vessel blockage, well, we know that managing blood pressure, having the proper diet, getting exercise, treating diabetes, balancing your weight, stopping smoking, that these lifestyle issues make such a very great significant impact on these things. And then the dementia due to insulin resistance, 90% of that is sorted with sorting out diet and lifestyle. And then you have the empirical evidence that Rajvinder mentioned the blue zone, where the 5 areas in the world with the highest level of those aged 100 years old and over who are extremely healthy, well, they very rarely get Alzheimer's. So it indicates, there's something wrong with what we're doing because we're getting it. And then finally, there's this Bredesen protocol being scientifically monitored, and with the case studies, it really is reassuring to us. Now, having said all of that, people were asking about having these videos available, and we thought about that, and we thought, no, that's not really what we want. I mean, we want you to go away and study the Ayurveda and know it for yourself, and we want you to pick up the essence of Bredesen protocol, which is the confirmation of Ayurveda, and you'll have that from what we've been saying, and you don't need a repetition of that, but you do need the bullet points. Those bullet points, which I've just talked about, those 12 strategies, which are inclusive of the Ayurvedic and the Bredesen, are what you really want, and Noel will make them available to you. So thank you very much, and we'll hand it back to Noel.
Okay, Don, thanks very much. Thank you. So actually, Don said, I had really we talked about releasing this video, giving it out for general release, but my feeling about that was always very negative, because unfortunately, with the way technology is, if we give this video to anybody, then that's it, it's gone, it's out there. And there's an incredible amount of work that the doctors put into putting this together. And we want to run this course again and again and again. Everybody will have another opportunity to see it. And because we're going to run it again, because we missed out on over 100 people today. So I'll be emailing you this evening or tomorrow morning, as soon as I've sorted out the problem with Zoom. Someone said it's because you need a bigger account, but we already have the bigger account. Like, we have 400 people on a Tuesday and a Thursday. So as soon as I have that problem sorted out, we'll rerun it. Hopefully, maybe even tomorrow or someday during the week, so that everybody gets a chance to see it. I have a funny feeling I'm going to have to run it a few times. And every time I run it, you'll have the opportunity to log in and see it. And as I said, I will send the bullet points out as well. Now, what I've done on the website in relation to the products that Dr. Brennan is talking about, if you go to www.ayurveda.ie, I'm presuming you all know how to spell Ayurveda at this stage, AYURVEDA.ie, and then under shop, the third menu option down is called Brain Health. And I'm in the process of putting all the products that the doctors have recommended in there, so they'll all be in one place for you to see. We're having huge stocking issues at the moment because of what's going on, as you can imagine. But the 50 plus, we definitely have. The Amrit Kalash, we have a lot of that. The nasal oil, we don't have. But you'll see in there what we have anyway. The MA3 and all these different things are in there. If you're concerned, if you're concerned that things are happening with your own brain, that you're becoming more and more forgetful, or maybe even it's a little more serious than that, then I'd strongly recommend a consultation with a doctor, because this is just a general webinar. It's not a personal consultation. And there's a huge amount of information in here, and really it needs to be tailored towards individuals. And nobody would be expected to take on everything that that was given out today. So if you are concerned about it, then have a consultation with one of the doctors. And again, all the details about how you do that are on the website, ayurveda.ie. So the website is really the resource that you need to go to for all this information. A lot of people saying big thank you. So a big thank you to everybody. A huge apology. There's not much point in me making it because the people are not on the call, but if you know any of them, it was just completely out of our control. It's nothing that we did. It's just, I'm sure when I just Googled it to see what was happening, and Zoom were having a big problem today. So we'll get it sorted out anyway, but it's good in some ways because it means you'll have a chance. We'll replay this whole video again, So I don't know if there's any pressing questions there. I see the doctors have been answering away, have been answering the questions away. So there's just an awful lot of thank yous coming in. There's one from Aisling Swift in Florida. Hiya, Aisling. How are you doing?
There's one on fractionated coconut oil, and it's not a great idea because once you fractionate, you break down. You don't use a natural product. If you hydrolyze and then steam it, you've changed the coconut oil. So I would suggest why not use natural coconut oil? Just because they want to put a shelf life on it and because they want it liquid doesn't mean it's the best for you. Forget about it. Use coconut oil. What about how do you know if your digestion is good? Well, if you're a Vata or a Kapha, you'll generally, your Kapha will have a very sluggish digestion. Your Vata will have wind and distension and bloating. But the Pittas have such a strong digestion, they can be abusing it and not recognizing it. But if you've got ama or plaque on your tongue, when you wake up in the morning, you should seriously think about your digestion. If your stool is not soft and easily passed and once, twice a day, you'll be considering thinking about your digestion.
Benjamin is a bit concerned there because his internet crashed. Benjamin, don't worry about it. As I've just said, we're rerunning this in the next few days. You'll get an email. There'll be an opportunity to see the whole thing again. So you'll be kept informed of that. And Noel, do you have tongue scrapers in stock, LED? Yes, we have there's two types of tongue scrapers. There's a stainless steel one, and then for the very wealthy multimillionaires out there, there is a silver-plated one which costs €15, and the stainless steel one costs €5 or €6. We have the stainless steel one in stock. The other one is being shipped into us at the moment, but all shipments are delayed. So I've given up trying to guess when things are going to arrive with us, but certainly the stainless steel one is in there. So just when you're looking for anything on our website, stick it into the search bar, either the MA number or the name of the herb, whatever. That's the easiest way to find it. We have over 300 products, so it's hard to go searching, looking individually in the different places. Just stick it in the search bar and any reference to that will come up, but it is there. Erica says it was fantastic, so thank you, Erica. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And there was a question then about, there was a question there about intermittent fasting and asked to talk about fasting. Now your brain was designed for an overnight fast. When you stop taking carbohydrates in your diet, sugars, then your brain and your body is forced onto using fats. We evolved actually feasting and fasting. So while we feasted, we were using carbohydrates, and when we were then fasting, we had to rely on our fats. So the brain does incredibly well with an overnight fast, and that's. There's a question on, does radiation 5G make dementia, Alzheimer's more prevalent? I would not be surprised, but the research has yet to be done on that. Tinfoil can trigger dementia, you've heard, Villa. So the tinfoil is aluminium, and there has been research which has implicated it, but it hasn't been completely proven or anything like that, but it's just suggestive. So yes, I tend to avoid, and I'd certainly avoid soft plastics on hot food because plastics contain carcinogens and they get into the food. Microwaving food is madness. You have killed it. You have destroyed it. It's not natural. Don't microwave. It increases your Vata, and Vata is not good for your memory.
Yeah, and don't drink bottled water out of plastic bottles either, and especially don't leave them in your car or in the sunshine. Get yourself a reusable stainless steel bottle and use filtered water and fill it up with filtered water. It's better for you. It's better for the environment. There's no need to be buying all these bottles of water. Get yourself a takeaway coffee cup if you drink coffee. Get your own one, get a bamboo one or something like that. And because you have very hot substances hitting off plastic, and plastic is petroleum, and then you're ingesting this into your system. It's not a great idea,
8 to 9 hours sleep would be what I would recommend. Kaphas tend to take more sleep, but if you're going towards 10 hours sleep, that's probably a bit much.
Yeah.
Aisling, it's okay Aisling, it's all right to use copper tongue scraper. She said she switched to copper. That tongue scraper is fine to use for the copper or steel or silver, yeah.
But not for cooking, Dr. Rajvinder.
Oh, she's just talking about tongue scraper.
Yeah, I didn't quite make that out. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, tongue scraper.
Okay.
Cultured yogurt just means that there are bacteria that have transformed the milk into yogurt, and it's a natural yogurt.
It's a live yogurt. You buy in the supermarket as a live yogurt, so it doesn't have sugar like the normal yogurt will be loaded with sugar. So you have to be careful when you're buying, or you make at home as a home starter, or you use a bit of probiotic into it when you're culture. But when you buy a starter like kefir, you buy grains, so that's how you make a live yogurt, culture yogurt.
Yogurt's quite easy to make actually, so you can just make it.
And I think somebody said with a pressure cooker. Yeah, pressure cooker is great. Steel one is wonderful and speed up your cooking, beans and lentils.
They are asking about the brand. Any brand you can recommend for this?
Oh, nowadays the Prestige, and if you go on Amazon.co.uk, it's very easy to find stainless steel pressure cooker. So I think the Prestige is a very established brand. So yeah.
There's a question there as well about treating sinusitis, and that oil that Noel showed, the Nasya oil, up the nostrils, on rising and after meals, it flushes out the nose, and it does a lot of good for sinusitis.
That oil was recommended by the Ayush department as a preventive method for COVID-19, keeping this whole area clean. We had a rush on it. It's all gone. We have hundreds of them ordered in. But again, I'm hoping to have some of them next week. But it's called MP16, MP16. So just stick that in the search bar. As I said, it's not expensive. It's a very cheap oil. But in the meantime, use sesame oil, Ghee and cholesterol, what do you think? There's no reason why ghee is going to increase your cholesterol levels. If you're of a kapha nature, it's all down to body types. If you're of a kapha nature, just use a little less ghee. And if you're vata, you can use more.
Constance said she wake up at 1:50. I say that's her pitta.
Yes. She's the chin. She's the chin. Look at beauty, all the fashion, and walk by the water.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be something to be able to sort that out, because I don't think I know anybody that's more pitta than me, but I
I say Constance is pitta.
maybe not more than me.
Very happy to say his pitta.
Yeah.
What's that, Naheed?
Noel feels very happy to say his pitta. Maybe
Yes.
because of all those intelligence and the perfectionist being.
Oh,
So very proud to say his pitta.
He's a balance.
Nothing gets done about pitta people, I mean, it's
oh, yes. And the way to Noel's heart is through his tummy as well.
Yeah. That's the one way I know I'm pitta. If I don't get food, then that's when I start getting irritable, But yeah, I sleep the whole way through the night. I go to bed at 10 o'clock. And just one thing you should know, but Dr. Rajvinder is going to give out to me about this, but because of daylight saving, in Ireland anyway, 11 o'clock is actually 10 o'clock. So in the wintertime, I go to bed 10 o'clock, get up at 6 o'clock. And in the summertime, I go to bed at 11 o'clock and get up at 7 o'clock. But it's the same thing. Nothing has changed, because daylight saving has put the clock forward an hour. So it's, Ayurveda doesn't actually recommend going to bed while the sun is still out. So, 11 o'clock is fine, I would think. Maybe the doctors will disagree. Rajvinder is smiling there, but 11 o'clock in the summertime for me is and then just 7 o'clock in the morning. And that's because of daylight saving. That's 10 and 6,
It was lovely to hear that Ali changed to organic cosmetics.
Yes.
Somebody else points out that hair dye, absolutely. There are natural hair dyes out there, but definitely what's often done is just imagine straight onto the top of the brain.
Constance has been beaten up by our family for being pitta, so there must be some other pitta members in there as well.
I think Dennis was saying she enjoy 1 or 2 pieces of chocolate. I was talking about the dark chocolate. So 1 little square of dark chocolate, that's okay. But don't make it a habit.
Yeah.
The names of the supplements again, it was Cytoplan 50 plus, a plus sign, and the other one was omega-3 vegan.
Okay, and I'll be sending that out anyway. That's
exactly.
As an attachment. I have all your email addresses, everybody that registered onto this as well. So I'm going to be sending that out. And I think it's probably time to draw to a close now, because it's coming up to 7:30. And for those of you that don't know, I do a daily group meditation at 6 o'clock every day. Well, it starts at 20 to 6. So anybody out there that's learned transcendental meditation and wants to take part in that, just send me an email, noel@ayurveda.ie. Just telling me where you learned TM, who your teacher was, and then I can put you on that list. And during that, we listen to chanting, we do pranayama. I teach people the pranayama, and then we meditate together. And I see loads of people here that are on that call with me every day, and that's every day. And
what time, Noel, did you say?
Well, it normally starts around 5:45, but the meditation is for 6 o'clock, you know. So
Yeah.
meditation.
Can I read out Aisling Swift? I kept my mother very healthy with Amrit Kailash daily, and I took it. No flu shots or no medication. She went to adult care center and never got sick due to Amrit Kailash. She died a few days before she was 90 of a stroke, but Ayurveda, including triple at night, kept her healthy. I was too late to stop her dementia, but I prevented it from getting worse with the Bredesen protocol. Thanks, Aisling. Very interesting.
That's great. That's great. Some nice comments in there from John McCrone about the group meditation. So if anyone out there that practices TM that wants to join that, just send me an email. That's all. Sorry, Dr. Rajvinder.
Oh no, Rui was asking about what's happening on Tuesday and Thursday, and then I just said they are doing a course on Tuesday and Thursday. And he said, Dhanyavad.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing is, we'll be rerunning that course. So I have your email address now. If you're registered on this, we'll put you on our mailing list. If you don't want to go on the mailing list, the first email you get, just unsubscribe. But we will be running that free course. There's no point in joining it now. We're on the 5th lesson out of 8. So, but we will rerun it in June. So there'll be an opportunity. And it's anybody out there that's interested in Ayurveda should do that course. It's free, and it's the 3 doctors and myself. And it's fantastic knowledge. Because this is, Ayurveda means knowledge of life. You're not going to grasp it all in a 2-hour seminar. It's a lifetime of knowledge that's out there. And it just, the more you learn, the more you hear it, the more you learn, and the more it becomes ingrained in your thinking, you know. So
what's the name of 2 organic suppliers? No, maybe before you finish.
Oh yeah, okay. McNally Family Farm is the one I use. They're in Walchestown in North County Dublin. I think Dr. Brennan uses them as well. They do have farmers markets. They're not on at the moment, obviously, but the People's Park in Dunleary and Leopardstown and the one in town as well. Or whatever it's called, where all there's a market in the center of town. Temple Bar, Temple Bar is there. And then there's another one. There's another one called Green Earth Organics. A great guy down in Galway, Kenneth from Green Earth Organics, is a big organization down there. I used to use them because they do a box delivery system. But then when I discovered there was someone closer to me, I stopped the box delivery system and I just do that. There's one down in Wexford as well called the Veg Box. And listen, these are coming up all over the place. So, and go and support these people. Go and support local growers. People, it's great for the environment. It's great for you. It's just great for everything. And I don't have to go to supermarkets anymore. It's one of the joys of my life that I don't have to go into supermarkets, except at the moment I'm shopping for my parents because they're cocooning. But normally I don't have to go to supermarkets. I just go to a farmer's market, and it's fantastic. No packaging, no plastic, no rubbish, and just good, healthy food that's grown. And it's amazing what grows all year round. People think, oh, in the middle of the winter, I won't get anything. There's just stuff grows all year round. So it's do that. Find a local grower or grow your own, even better still. That's my next move, is I'm going to become a farmer. But anyway, grow your own or find a local grower. And there too, but there's lots more people doing that, you know. Okay, I think we're going to draw to a conclusion here. We've gone through an awful lot of stuff. Thanks a million, everybody, for coming on. Look out for your emails. I'll be sending you out the list of recommendations. So look out for your emails. Join us again. We'll replay this sometime during the week, and we'll have the doctors on maybe to ask any additional questions towards the end, you know. So I'll say namaste to everybody.
Namaste.
Namaste.
A big thank you to the doctors. They put a tremendous amount of work into preparing the slides and getting all this information ready. And so a really big thank you to them, and a big thank you to everybody that came along and joined us today. And I've no doubt we'll be catching up with you all soon. So thanks a million, and namaste. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Rest up.